Have you ever felt like you're carrying a weight so heavy that it pulls you down every time you try to rise? It's not a weight you can see or touch, but you feel it in your chest. It comes with every phone call that leaves you more drained than uplifted. It's in those tense silences that say more than words ever could. It's in the moments when you question your own worth because someone else's words or actions made you doubt it. This kind of weight sneaks into your life so quietly that you hardly notice it at first. It begins with small compromises, dismissing hurtful remarks, forgiving thoughtless actions over and over again, and convincing yourself that things will get better. You tell yourself it's just a bad phase, or that they don't really mean the things they say or do. But over time, those small compromises pile up until you're standing under a mountain of emotional exhaustion, unable to see a way out. Yet deep down, you already know the truth. Holding on to what harms you doesn't make you stronger. It only leaves scars. And here's the thing. Breaking free doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're finally valuing yourself enough to choose peace over chaos. But letting go of something or someone you once held close isn't easy. It's a journey, one that requires courage, clarity, and kindness toward yourself. And if you're reading this, you've already taken the first step by seeking a way forward. Let's start with a story that might sound a little too familiar. There was a woman named Nia who had a friend named Maya. For years, Nia and Maya had been inseparable, the kind of friends who shared everything. Maya was charismatic and full of energy, and Nia admired how she could light up any room she walked into. But as the years went by, Nia began to notice something. Maya's light often dimmed everyone else's. Whenever Nia shared good news, like getting a promotion at work or meeting a new milestone in her personal goals, Maya's congratulations always came with a sting. "That's great, but let's see how long it lasts," Maya would say with a laugh. Or, "Must be nice to have time for things like that. Not everyone gets handed opportunities like you." At first, Nia brushed these comments aside, convincing herself that Maya didn't mean them. "She's just joking," she thought. "She cares about me. She's just being honest." But the comments kept coming. They weren't always obvious insults. Sometimes it was the way Maya would go silent when Nia was excited about something. Sometimes it was how Maya always managed to turn the conversation back to herself, no matter what was being discussed. And sometimes it was the way Maya's words lingered in Nia's mind long after they were said, planting seeds of doubt that grew into full-blown insecurity. Still, Nia couldn't imagine her life without Maya. They had so many memories together, so much history. They had been there for each other during tough times. "She's like family," Nia would tell herself whenever she felt overwhelmed by their friendship. And isn't family supposed to stick together no matter what? One day, after yet another exhausting conversation with Maya, Nia sat in her car for a long time before driving home. She felt drained, almost hollow. The thing that hurt the most wasn't Maya's words. It was realizing how much she'd come to believe them. She replayed years of interactions in her mind, seeing with fresh clarity just how much of herself she had given away to keep Maya happy. It struck her. In trying so hard to hold on to the friendship, she had been losing herself. That moment was Nia's turning point. She didn't end the friendship right away, because letting go of something deeply rooted in your life takes time. But she began to take small steps. She started setting boundaries, something she'd never done before. When Maya's words became too much, Nia spoke up instead of staying silent. When Maya dismissed her feelings, Nia reminded herself that her emotions were valid, even if Maya didn't acknowledge them. And most importantly, Nia started focusing on herself, her own growth, her own happiness, her own peace. The journey wasn't easy. Nia questioned herself constantly, wondering if she was being selfish or overly sensitive. But each time she felt the pull to return to old patterns, she reminded herself of one simple truth. Relationships are meant to uplift, not undermine. Slowly she began to feel lighter, freer. The space that Maya had once filled was now open for new possibilities, new friendships, new experiences, and most importantly, a renewed sense of self-worth. Maybe you've been Nia, or maybe you've been Maya. Most of us have been both at some point in our lives. We've held on to relationships that hurt us because we were afraid of what would happen if we let go. We've stayed silent when someone crossed a line because we didn't want to cause conflict. And maybe, in moments of our own pain, we've said or done things that hurt the people we care about without realizing it. But here's the beauty of being human. We can change. We can grow. And when we approach relationships, both the ones we choose to keep and the ones we decide to let go, with intention and compassion, we open the door to a life filled with more joy and less pain. You deserve relationships that nourish your spirit, not ones that drain it. You deserve connections that make you feel valued, not diminished. And the incredible thing is that by letting go of what no longer serves you, you create space for what truly does. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And as you take this journey, know that you're not alone. Countless others have walked this path before you, and countless others are walking it right now. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a step toward freedom, a step toward reclaiming your peace, a step toward the life you deserve. So take a deep breath, trust yourself, and keep moving forward. You are so much stronger than you think. A toxic relationship can feel like walking through a dense fog, where everything seems unclear, heavy, and suffocating. It begins subtly, often masquerading as love, friendship, or loyalty. But over time, it chips away at your happiness, confidence, and peace. The truth is, toxic relationships don't announce themselves with flashing neon signs. They creep into your life, leaving you questioning your own reality, doubting your worth, and carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. It's not just about dramatic fights or obvious betrayals. It's often the subtle erosion of your emotional well-being that leaves the deepest scars. Understanding the true nature of these harmful connections is the first step toward breaking free. Toxic relationships thrive in the shadows of confusion and silence, but once you shine the light of awareness on them, their grip begins to loosen. Let's take a closer look at what defines a toxic relationship and how to recognize the harmful patterns hiding beneath the surface. This clarity could be the turning point that sets you on the path to freedom and self-respect. A toxic relationship often creates an emotional imbalance where one person takes far more than they give. This can manifest as constant criticism, manipulation, or a lack of mutual support. You may feel as though you're always walking on eggshells, afraid to express yourself or make mistakes because of how the other person might react. Their words might feel like daggers, disguised as honesty or helpful feedback, leaving you feeling small, inadequate, or undeserving of love. Control is another hallmark of a toxic relationship. It doesn't always come in obvious forms, like forbidding you from seeing friends or monitoring your every move. Sometimes it's disguised as concern, like questioning every decision you make or undermining your confidence under the guise of offering advice. Over time, This control erodes your sense of independence and autonomy, making you feel like you need their approval just to make basic decisions. Manipulation is a subtle but powerful tactic in toxic relationships. It can appear as guilt-tripping, where the other person makes you feel responsible for their happiness or well-being. For example, they might say, "If you really cared about me, you'd do this for me," or "You're the only one who understands me." This creates an unhealthy dynamic where your needs are constantly sidelined to meet theirs. Emotional inconsistency is another red flag. In a toxic relationship, affection and kindness may be sporadic, leaving you in a constant state of uncertainty. One moment, they shower you with love and validation, and the next, they're cold, distant, or even cruel. This unpredictability keeps you hooked, hoping for the next moment of warmth while enduring long stretches of emotional neglect or abuse. Gaslighting is one of the most insidious patterns in toxic relationships. This happens when the other person distorts reality, making you question your perceptions, memories, or feelings. They might say things like, "You're overreacting," "That never happened," or "You're just being too sensitive." Over time, this can leave you feeling confused and doubting your own sanity, making it even harder to recognize the toxic dynamics at play. A lack of respect for boundaries is another common characteristic of toxic relationships. Healthy connections thrive on mutual understanding and respect, where each person feels safe to express their needs and limits. In a toxic dynamic, boundaries are often ignored or dismissed. The other person might invade your privacy, dismiss your feelings, or push you into situations that make you uncomfortable. This lack of respect erodes your sense of safety and autonomy. Toxic relationships are often fueled by one-sided effort. You might find yourself constantly giving, whether it's time, energy, or emotional support, while receiving little to nothing in return. You might rationalize their behavior, telling yourself that they're going through a tough time or that things will improve. But over time, this imbalance drains you, leaving you feeling depleted and unappreciated. Jealousy and possessiveness can also play a significant role in toxic relationships. While a small amount of jealousy is normal, toxic jealousy is controlling and suffocating. It may lead to accusations, constant surveillance, or attempts to isolate you from others. This behavior is often justified as love or protection, but in reality, it's a way to assert control and keep you tethered to the relationship. In toxic relationships, blame is often shifted onto you. When conflicts arise, the other person might refuse to take responsibility for their actions, instead pointing fingers and making you feel like you're always at fault. This dynamic can be incredibly damaging, leaving you feeling guilty and ashamed even when you've done nothing wrong. Another hallmark of toxicity is emotional invalidation. When you express your feelings or concerns, the other person might dismiss them as unimportant, overdramatic, or irrational. This creates an environment where you feel unheard and unseen, making it difficult to trust your own emotions and instincts. Toxic relationships can also be characterized by an absence of genuine support. In healthy relationships, both people celebrate each other's successes and provide comfort during difficult times. In a toxic dynamic, your achievements might be met with jealousy, indifference, or even sabotage. Instead of feeling uplifted, you may feel like you have to shrink yourself to avoid triggering their insecurities. A constant state of conflict is another sign of a toxic relationship. Disagreements are normal in any relationship, but in a toxic one, they often escalate into full-blown arguments filled with personal attacks, manipulation, or stonewalling. These conflicts leave you feeling exhausted and emotionally bruised, rather than resolved or understood. Silent treatment is a weapon often wielded in toxic relationships. This passive-aggressive tactic involves ignoring or withdrawing from you as a form of punishment. It leaves you feeling isolated and desperate for their approval, further deepening the cycle of control and dependency. Toxic relationships can also foster a sense of obligation. The other person might guilt you into staying by reminding you of everything they've done for you or by playing the victim. This creates a dynamic where you feel trapped, as though you owe them your loyalty no matter how much harm they cause. Over time, toxic relationships can take a toll on your physical and mental health. Chronic stress, anxiety, and even physical symptoms like headaches or fatigue can all stem from the constant tension and negativity. Your sense of self-worth diminishes, leaving you feeling unworthy of better relationships or a happier life. Recognizing these harmful patterns is the first step toward reclaiming your peace and breaking free. It's not about blaming the other person or yourself. It's about understanding that you deserve relationships that uplift and nurture you. Awareness is powerful. It allows you to see the dynamics for what they are and empowers you to take steps toward change. The journey toward freedom begins with honesty, with yourself and your circumstances. It's about asking hard questions. Does this relationship bring out the best in me, or does it drain me? Do I feel supported and valued, or do I feel dismissed and controlled? Am I holding on to this connection out of love or out of fear? Once you start to answer these questions, clarity will follow. And with clarity comes the courage to take action, whether that means setting boundaries, seeking support, or walking away entirely. You have the strength to break free from the chains of toxicity and create a life filled with peace, joy, and authentic connections. By understanding the nature of toxic relationships, you're not just recognizing the patterns that harm you, you're also reclaiming your power to choose relationships that heal, support, and inspire you. This is the first step toward a brighter, more balanced future, where your happiness is no longer compromised by someone else's behavior. It's a step worth taking, and the freedom it brings is a gift you truly deserve. Recognizing the harmful patterns in toxic relationships is the first step toward liberation, but identifying the problem alone is not enough. Freedom comes when you're able to release the grip of unhealthy connections, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring or that the relationship never mattered. It means you're choosing peace over chaos and prioritizing your well-being over the pain of clinging to something that no longer serves you. The question now is how to let go without falling into the trap of resentment, regret, or fear. This is where the Buddhist principle of non-attachment offers profound guidance. Non-attachment is not about detaching from love or life itself. Instead, it's about freeing yourself from the suffering that comes with excessive emotional clinging. It teaches you to embrace experiences and relationships with an open hand, allowing them to exist and evolve without grasping or attempting to control them. This practice becomes essential in breaking the emotional chains that keep you tied to toxic relationships, making space for healing, growth, and genuine connections. Non-attachment begins with the realization that nothing in life is permanent. Relationships, emotions, and circumstances are in a constant state of change, and attempting to hold on to them as if they will last forever only leads to suffering. In a toxic relationship, this clinging often takes the form of holding on to false hope that the person will change, that things will go back to the way they were, or that you can fix the relationship if you just try harder. This attachment to an imagined future traps you in a cycle of disappointment as reality continues to diverge from your expectations. The Buddhist perspective encourages you to accept impermanence not as a loss, but as a natural aspect of existence. When you acknowledge that relationships, like all things, are temporary, you stop demanding that they fulfill all your needs or remain unchanged. This acceptance creates a sense of freedom because you no longer tie your happiness to the actions or presence of another person. It allows you to experience relationships fully without being consumed by them, and to let go when they become harmful without losing your sense of self. Non-attachment also involves letting go of the illusion of control. In toxic relationships, there's often a desire to fix or change the other person. You may convince yourself that if you say the right words, make the right sacrifices, or prove your love enough, they will finally treat you better. This illusion of control not only places an unfair burden on you, but also perpetuates the toxicity, as it keeps you focused on changing external circumstances instead of addressing your own needs and boundaries. Non-attachment teaches you to release this need for control and to accept others as they are, recognizing that their behavior is ultimately their responsibility, not yours. Practicing non-attachment doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or becoming indifferent. On the contrary, it allows you to experience your emotions more fully because you're not fighting against them or clinging to them. When you feel hurt, anger, or sadness in the context of a toxic relationship, non-attachment helps you sit with these emotions, understand their roots, and let them pass naturally instead of allowing them to dictate your actions or keep you stuck in pain. This process of emotional release is vital for moving forward and breaking free from the lingering grip of toxic connections. Another aspect of non-attachment is letting go of labels and expectations. In toxic relationships, we often attach ourselves to roles or identities, whether it's being the fixer, the caregiver, or the person who sacrifices their own needs for the sake of the relationship. These labels can become deeply ingrained, making it difficult to imagine a life outside the relationship. By practicing non-attachment, you begin to see yourself not as a fixed role, but as a dynamic, evolving individual. This shift in perspective empowers you to step out of the patterns that have kept you tied to the relationship and to redefine your sense of self on your own terms. Non-attachment also means releasing the stories you tell yourself about the relationship. In toxic dynamics, the mind often clings to narratives that justify staying, whether it's focusing on the good times, idealizing the other person, or believing that leaving would mean failure. These stories create a false sense of security, keeping you trapped in a cycle of emotional dependency. Non-attachment invites you to examine these narratives with clarity and compassion, recognizing them as mental constructs rather than absolute truths. When you let go of these stories, you open yourself to the reality of the situation and the possibility of moving forward. Forgiveness plays a significant role in the practice of non-attachment. In many cases, the pain of a toxic relationship is amplified by lingering resentment or the desire for revenge. These emotions keep you tied to the past, preventing you from fully letting go. Non-attachment encourages you to forgive, not as an act of condoning the other person's behavior, but as a way of freeing yourself from the burden of anger and bitterness. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, a way of releasing the emotional weight that holds you back and reclaiming your peace. Non-attachment also helps you navigate the fear of loneliness that often accompanies the end of a toxic relationship. Many people stay in harmful connections because they're afraid of being alone or believe that they won't find anything better. This fear is rooted in attachment to external validation and a lack of trust in one's own ability to find fulfillment independently. Non-attachment teaches you to cultivate inner strength and self-reliance, recognizing that your worth and happiness are not dependent on anyone else. This inner resilience allows you to face solitude not as a punishment, but as an opportunity for self-discovery and growth. One of the most transformative aspects of non-attachment is its emphasis on living in the present moment. Toxic relationships often pull you into the past, replaying old wounds and regrets, or the future with fears and anxieties about what lies ahead. Non-attachment grounds you in the present, allowing you to focus on what you can do here and now to care for yourself and move forward. This mindfulness not only reduces stress and anxiety, but also helps you see the relationship with greater clarity, unclouded by nostalgia or fear. Practicing non-attachment requires ongoing effort and self-compassion. It's not a switch you flip, but a journey of learning to release what no longer serves you while embracing what aligns with your well-being. This practice might involve meditation, journaling, or seeking support from trusted friends or mentors. It's about creating a daily habit of checking in with yourself, recognizing where attachment is causing suffering, and gently letting it go. As you cultivate non-attachment, you may notice a profound shift in your relationships, not just the toxic ones, but all of them. When you approach connections without clinging or controlling, you allow them to flourish naturally. You experience love, friendship, and connection as they are, not as you wish them to be. This freedom creates a space for deeper, more authentic bonds to emerge, rooted in mutual respect and understanding rather than dependency or control. Letting go through the practice of non-attachment is not about abandoning relationships or becoming emotionally distant. It's about freeing yourself from the patterns and illusions that create suffering, so you can engage with life and relationships from a place of clarity, balance, and inner peace. It's about choosing love over fear, freedom over control, and authenticity over attachment. And in doing so, you not only release the toxic connections that weigh you down, but also create space for a life filled with joy, harmony, and genuine connection. Letting go through non-attachment is a profound step toward reclaiming your peace and emotional freedom. However, the journey doesn't end there. To fully understand the roots of suffering in toxic relationships, and to truly liberate yourself from the cycles that keep pulling you back, a deeper exploration is needed. The Four Noble Truths, one of the most foundational teachings in Buddhism, offer a transformative framework for unraveling the pain of toxic connections. This ancient wisdom provides not just clarity, but a path forward, a way to move beyond suffering and into a life of balance and freedom. The first noble truth acknowledges the presence of suffering. In the context of toxic relationships, this suffering manifests in countless ways. It's the constant knot in your stomach when you anticipate their criticism. It's the anxiety that comes from never knowing if today will be a good day with them or another storm. It's the self-doubt planted by words or actions that make you feel unworthy, small, or unimportant. This suffering often feels inescapable, like a shadow that follows you, even in moments of solitude. Acknowledging this truth doesn't mean accepting it as your fate, but recognizing it as a starting point. Denying or avoiding this suffering only prolongs the pain. Facing it head-on is the first step toward healing. The second noble truth delves into the causes of suffering. In toxic relationships, these causes are often rooted in attachment, control, and unmet expectations. Clinging to the idea that the relationship will somehow transform or that the other person will become who you wish them to be fuels ongoing pain. Attachment to an idealized version of the relationship blinds you to its reality, keeping you trapped in cycles of hope and disappointment. Expectations can also be a source of suffering, expecting the other person to provide the love, validation, or respect that they are unwilling or incapable of giving. This misalignment between expectation and reality creates a constant undercurrent of frustration and hurt. The role of ego is another significant cause of suffering in toxic relationships. Ego drives the need for control, the desire to win arguments, or the unwillingness to walk away for fear of appearing weak or defeated. The ego clings to identity, whether it's being the savior, the martyr, or the one who always tries to fix things. And this clinging perpetuates the toxic dynamic. Letting go of ego doesn't mean letting go of self-respect. It means releasing the need to prove something to yourself or others, creating space for genuine healing. The third noble truth offers a beacon of hope. The cessation of suffering is possible. This truth reminds us that no matter how deeply entrenched the pain feels, it is not permanent. Liberation comes when you release the causes of suffering: attachment, control, ego, and unmet expectations. It is about breaking free from the patterns and illusions that bind you to the toxic relationship. This doesn't mean forgetting or erasing the past, but transforming your relationship with it. Instead of seeing the relationship as a source of loss, you can begin to see it as a catalyst for growth, wisdom, and self-awareness. This cessation of suffering also involves forgiveness, not necessarily for the other person's sake, but for your own. Forgiveness is not about excusing harmful behavior, but about releasing the emotional grip it has on you. Holding on to resentment keeps you tethered to the pain. Letting it go allows you to move forward with clarity and peace. Forgiveness, in this context, is a deeply personal act of liberation, a way to free your heart from the weight of past hurts. The fourth noble truth outlines the path to liberation from suffering, known as the Noble Eightfold Path. In the realm of toxic relationships, this path provides practical guidance for healing and growth. Right. Understanding involves seeing the relationship for what it truly is, without distortion or denial. It requires you to recognize the patterns, behaviors, and dynamics that contribute to the toxicity. This clarity lays the foundation for change, as it allows you to make decisions based on truth rather than illusion. Right intention is the commitment to free yourself from the suffering caused by the relationship. It is about choosing actions that align with your well-being and rejecting those that perpetuate harm. This intention becomes a guiding light, helping you navigate the complexities of letting go with compassion and resolve. Right speech emphasizes the importance of communication, both with yourself and others. It encourages honesty, kindness, and mindfulness in how you express yourself, even in the face of conflict or pain. Right action involves setting boundaries and taking steps to protect your emotional and mental health. It is about prioritizing your needs and refusing to engage in behaviors that reinforce the toxic dynamic. This may involve distancing yourself from the relationship, seeking support, or creating new routines that foster healing. Right livelihood in this context can be interpreted as cultivating relationships and environments that nourish your spirit rather than drain it. Right. Effort is the ongoing practice of aligning your thoughts and actions with the goal of liberation. It is about recognizing when old patterns or emotions resurface and gently redirecting yourself toward healthier choices. This effort requires patience and persistence, as breaking free from toxic relationships often involves setbacks and challenges. Right mindfulness encourages you to stay present, observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment. It helps you avoid getting lost in the past or future, grounding you in the here and now. Finally, right concentration involves focusing your energy on healing and self-growth. It is about directing your attention toward practices that bring peace and clarity, whether it's meditation, journaling, or engaging in creative pursuits. This concentrated effort helps you rebuild your sense of self, independent of the relationship's influence. Applying the Four Noble Truths to toxic relationships is not just an intellectual exercise, it is a transformative journey. It requires courage to face the truth, compassion to forgive yourself and others, and commitment to walk the path toward liberation. Each step forward is an act of self-love, a declaration that you deserve relationships and a life that align with your highest self. Through this process, you begin to see the relationship not as a failure, but as a teacher. It has shown you the importance of boundaries, the power of self-respect, and the need for clarity in your connections. This shift in perspective transforms pain into wisdom, allowing you to move forward with a deeper understanding of yourself and others. As you continue to apply the Four Noble Truths, you create a foundation for healthier relationships in the future. You become more attuned to red flags, more confident in setting boundaries, and more mindful in how you approach connection and intimacy. The suffering that once defined your experience becomes a distant memory, replaced by the peace and freedom of living authentically and without attachment. In this way, the Four Noble Truths are not just a path to liberation. They are a pathway to a life filled with balance, harmony, and genuine joy. Understanding the roots of suffering and the path to liberation opens the door to a new challenge: navigating relationships with compassion while protecting your own well-being. Compassion is a cornerstone of many spiritual teachings, but in toxic relationships, it often becomes distorted. The line between genuine care and self-sacrifice can blur, leaving you depleted, resentful, or trapped. The question is not whether compassion has value, it does, but how to offer it in a way that doesn't require you to lose yourself in the process. Striking this balance is essential for true healing and growth. Compassion, at its core, is the recognition of another's suffering paired with the desire to alleviate it. However, this intention can easily become skewed when applied in the context of toxic relationships. Many people equate compassion with unconditional tolerance, believing that caring for someone means enduring their harmful behavior. This misunderstanding often stems from a lack of boundaries or a fear of appearing selfish. True compassion, however, requires a deeper understanding. It begins with kindness toward yourself. Self-compassion is the foundation for healthy compassion toward others. Without it, you risk giving from a place of emptiness or obligation rather than genuine care. Self-compassion means acknowledging your own pain and treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer to a friend. It's recognizing that your well-being matters and that prioritizing your needs is not selfish but necessary. When you practice self-compassion, you create an internal balance that allows you to extend care to others without compromising your own peace. In toxic relationships, Compassion often becomes entangled with guilt or the need for approval. You may feel responsible for the other person's emotions, or believe that if you try hard enough, you can fix their pain. This mindset, while well-intentioned, is unsustainable. It places the burden of someone else's healing entirely on your shoulders, leaving you drained and perpetuating the toxic dynamic. True compassion recognizes that while you can support someone, you cannot heal them. Their journey is their own, and no amount of self-sacrifice on your part will change that. Boundaries are the key to balancing compassion with self-preservation. They act as a protective barrier, allowing you to offer care without losing yourself in the process. Boundaries are not walls. They don't shut people out entirely, but rather guidelines that define what is and isn't acceptable in your interactions. They create a space where both your needs and the other person's can coexist, fostering healthier, more balanced relationships. Setting boundaries in a compassionate way involves clear communication and consistency. It means expressing your needs honestly and calmly, without resorting to blame or anger. For example, if someone's behavior is causing you distress, you might say, "I care about you, but I need to take a step back when things become overwhelming." This approach acknowledges your concern for the other person while asserting your limits, ensuring that your compassion doesn't come at the expense of your well-being. Maintaining boundaries also requires a willingness to enforce them. In toxic relationships, boundaries are often tested or disregarded, and it can be tempting to let them slide to avoid conflict. However, compromising your boundaries undermines your self-respect and perpetuates unhealthy dynamics. Compassion in this context means standing firm, not out of spite or anger, but out of love for yourself and respect for the relationship. Enforcing boundaries might feel uncomfortable at first, but it is an essential step toward creating a healthier dynamic. Compassion also involves recognizing when to step away. In some cases, the most loving and respectful thing you can do for yourself and the other person is to create distance. This doesn't mean you care any less. It means you understand that the relationship, as it stands, is causing more harm than good. Walking away with compassion means leaving without anger or resentment, but with a sense of peace and acceptance. It's a decision rooted in clarity and self-respect, rather than fear or frustration. Another important aspect of compassionate relationships is understanding the difference between empathy and enmeshment. Empathy allows you to connect with another person's emotions without taking them on as your own. Enmeshment, on the other hand, blurs the boundaries between your feelings and theirs, leaving you overwhelmed and unable to separate your well-being from their struggles. Practicing compassion without enmeshment involves maintaining a sense of emotional autonomy, acknowledging their pain while staying grounded in your own emotional state. Mindfulness can be a powerful tool in balancing compassion with self-preservation. It helps you stay present and aware of your emotions, allowing you to respond rather than react. When you practice mindfulness, you're better equipped to recognize when compassion is turning into self-sacrifice or when your boundaries are being tested. This awareness allows you to make conscious choices that align with your values and well-being, rather than falling into old patterns of overgiving or tolerating harmful behavior. Compassionate detachment is another valuable practice. This involves caring deeply for someone while accepting that you cannot control their actions or choices. It's about releasing the need to fix, save, or change them, and instead supporting them in a way that respects their autonomy. Compassionate detachment allows you to offer love and kindness without becoming entangled in their struggles, creating a healthier dynamic for both parties. Forgiveness plays a significant role in practicing compassion without sacrificing yourself. Forgiveness is not about condoning harmful behavior or ignoring the impact it has had on you. It's about releasing the emotional weight of anger, resentment, or bitterness so that you can move forward with clarity and peace. Forgiveness, when rooted in compassion, is an act of liberation for yourself and for the other person. It allows you to let go of the past and create space for healthier connections. Compassion also requires discernment, the ability to recognize when someone's actions or intentions are genuinely harmful. In toxic relationships, compassion can sometimes be manipulated or exploited, leaving you vulnerable to further harm. Discernment helps you differentiate between a relationship that can be healed and one that requires distance. It's not about judgment, but about understanding the dynamics at play and making choices that protect your well-being. Balancing compassion with self-preservation also involves cultivating a support system. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift and support you provides a buffer against the emotional strain of toxic relationships. These connections remind you of your worth and help you stay grounded in your values, making it easier to practice compassion without losing yourself. Healing through compassion means extending kindness not only to others, but also to yourself. It's about recognizing your own needs, honoring your boundaries, and treating yourself with the same care and respect you offer to others. Self-compassion is not selfish. It's the foundation of all healthy relationships, allowing you to give from a place of abundance rather than depletion. Compassion, when practiced with intention and balance, becomes a source of strength rather than a weakness. It allows you to navigate relationships with clarity, kindness, and integrity, creating a space where both you and the other person can grow. By balancing compassion with self-preservation, you not only protect your own peace, but also foster healthier, more meaningful connections. It's a practice rooted in self-respect, awareness, and a deep understanding of what it means to truly care, both for others and for yourself. Balancing compassion with self-preservation sheds light on how relationships can thrive without self-sacrifice. Yet, there's another subtle but powerful force that often goes unnoticed, keeping us tethered to toxic dynamics: clinging. Clinging isn't just holding on, it's gripping so tightly to something that you begin to lose your sense of self. In relationships, this attachment often feels like an invisible thread wrapping around you, making it harder to breathe, think clearly, or move forward. The more you cling, the more your emotional pain intensifies, as though you're trying to grasp water that slips through your fingers. To understand this deeply, we must explore how excessive attachment fuels suffering and prevents true freedom. Attachment begins innocently enough. In relationships, it can feel like the foundation of love, connection, or loyalty. But when attachment becomes excessive, it transforms into dependence. You begin to place your happiness, self-worth, and emotional stability entirely in the hands of another person. Their actions dictate your mood, their approval determines your confidence, and their presence becomes essential to your sense of security. This dependence creates a fragile foundation for the relationship, as it relies not on mutual respect or love, but on neediness and control. When you cling to someone in a toxic relationship, you often ignore red flags and warning signs because you're so afraid of losing them. This fear of loss blinds you to reality, causing you to tolerate behavior that you'd never accept otherwise. You might find yourself rationalizing their actions, excusing their mistreatment, or convincing yourself that things will improve if you just try harder. This self-deception deepens the emotional pain, as you suppress your own needs and values to maintain the illusion of harmony. Clinging also fosters a sense of entitlement or expectation. You may feel that because you've invested so much time, energy, or love into the relationship, the other person owes you something in return. This expectation creates resentment when they fail to meet your needs, further amplifying your suffering. True love or connection cannot flourish under the weight of such expectations. Instead, they collapse, leaving behind bitterness and regret. Another way clinging leads to suffering is through the loss of emotional independence. When you're overly attached, your identity begins to merge with the relationship. You may lose sight of who you are outside of it, abandoning your passions, interests, and goals to prioritize the other person. This self-neglect creates a void, leaving you feeling hollow and directionless when the relationship falters. The irony is that the more you give up parts of yourself to cling to someone else, the more distant and disconnected you become from both them and yourself. Excessive attachment also creates a cycle of anxiety and insecurity. You constantly worry about the other person's feelings, actions, or intentions, fearing that they might leave or withdraw their affection. This anxiety often manifests as jealousy, possessiveness, or attempts to control their behavior. While these reactions may temporarily soothe your fear, they ultimately push the other person further away, deepening the emotional rift and reinforcing your suffering. In many cases, clinging stems from a fear of abandonment or loneliness. You might believe that letting go of the relationship will leave you empty or unloved, leading you to hold on tighter even when it's causing you harm. This fear is often rooted in past experiences or unmet emotional needs, which drive you to seek security in someone else. However, no relationship can fill the void created by unresolved inner wounds. The more you cling, the more you avoid confronting these underlying issues, perpetuating a cycle of pain and dependence. Clinging also limits your freedom by creating a sense of obligation. You might feel responsible for the other person's happiness or well-being, taking on their burdens as if they were your own. While caring for someone is natural, excessive attachment blurs the line between support and self-sacrifice. This overextension drains your emotional energy and leaves you feeling trapped, as though you're carrying a weight that isn't yours to bear. True freedom comes from recognizing that while you can care for someone, you are not responsible for their choices, feelings, or actions. The illusion of control is another way clinging leads to suffering. When you're attached to a toxic relationship, you may try to manage every aspect of it, whether by changing your behavior to please the other person, attempting to fix their problems, or constantly seeking reassurance. This need for control creates tension and frustration, as the unpredictable nature of relationships resists such efforts. The more you cling to control, the more you feel helpless and defeated when things don't go as planned. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean becoming indifferent or uncaring. It means releasing the emotional grip that keeps you tied to suffering. It's about recognizing that love and connection are not about possession or control, but about freedom and mutual respect. When you let go of clinging, you create space for healthier dynamics to emerge. Relationships built on choice rather than need, on appreciation rather than expectation. A key step in releasing attachment is cultivating self-awareness. Reflect on why you feel so attached and what needs or fears are driving this behavior. Are you clinging because you fear being alone? Because you're seeking validation? Because you believe this relationship defines your worth? By understanding the root of your attachment, you can begin to address the underlying issues and find healthier ways to meet your emotional needs. Practicing mindfulness is another powerful tool for letting go of attachment. Mindfulness helps you observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, allowing you to see the patterns of clinging as they arise. For example, when you notice yourself obsessing over the other person's actions or worrying about the relationship's future, mindfulness allows you to pause and redirect your focus to the present moment. This practice helps break the cycle of attachment by shifting your attention away from fear and toward a sense of inner peace. Developing self-compassion is also essential in releasing attachment. When you're overly attached, you often judge yourself harshly for the relationship's struggles or blame yourself for its shortcomings. Self-compassion helps you treat yourself with kindness and understanding, recognizing that your worth is not defined by the relationship or the other person's behavior. This inner strength empowers you to let go without guilt or self-doubt, knowing that you deserve love and respect, both from others and yourself. Another practice for overcoming attachment is gratitude. By focusing on what you have rather than what you lack or fear losing, gratitude shifts your perspective and reduces the intensity of clinging. For example, instead of fixating on the relationship's problems or what the other person isn't giving you, focus on the positive aspects of your life, your own growth, your supportive connections, or the lessons you've learned. Gratitude creates a sense of abundance, counteracting the scarcity mindset that fuels attachment. Embracing impermanence is a transformative way to release attachment. All relationships, like everything in life, are subject to change. Recognizing this truth doesn't diminish their value. It enhances it by encouraging you to appreciate them fully while they last. Letting go of attachment means accepting that relationships may evolve, fade, or end, and that this natural process is not a failure, but a part of life's ebb and flow. Releasing excessive attachment is not easy, especially when emotions run deep, but it is a necessary step toward emotional freedom and inner peace. By loosening your grip, you allow both yourself and the other person the space to grow, heal, and find authentic happiness. It's not about giving up on love or connection. It's about finding a way to love that doesn't hurt, to connect without control, and to care without clinging. This shift transforms your relationships from sources of pain into opportunities for growth, joy, and mutual respect. And in doing so, it opens the door to a life where your happiness is no longer tied to someone else, but is rooted firmly within yourself. Letting go of attachment begins the journey toward emotional freedom. But to truly step forward, clarity is essential. The haze of attachment and emotional entanglement often distorts reality, making it difficult to see relationships for what they truly are. This is where mindfulness becomes invaluable. Mindfulness is not about forcing thoughts or suppressing emotions. It's about seeing clearly, without the filters of fear, expectation, or clinging. It allows you to step back, observe the relationship as it is, and make conscious choices rooted in self-awareness and truth. Mindfulness begins with presence. Often, in toxic relationships, your mind is preoccupied with the past, replaying arguments, wondering what you could have done differently, or clinging to memories of better times. At the same time, you're consumed by fears of the future, worrying about whether the relationship will survive or what will happen if it ends. This constant mental tug-of-war leaves little room for the present moment, where clarity and understanding reside. Practicing mindfulness shifts your focus to the here and now, helping you observe the dynamics of the relationship without the cloud of past pain or future anxiety. Observation without judgment is a cornerstone of mindfulness. It's easy to fall into the trap of labeling situations, actions, or emotions as good or bad. In relationships, this judgment often extends to both yourself and the other person. You might criticize yourself for staying too long or blame the other person entirely for the toxicity. Mindfulness encourages you to set aside these judgments and simply observe. For example, rather than thinking, I shouldn't feel this way, you might acknowledge, I feel hurt. This shift creates space for understanding, as you're no longer fighting against your emotions, but allowing them to exist. Awareness of patterns is another key aspect of mindfulness. Toxic relationships often follow predictable cycles: moments of calm followed by conflict, brief reconciliation followed by more tension. These patterns can be hard to see when you're caught in the middle of them. Mindfulness helps you step outside the cycle and observe it objectively. You begin to notice recurring behaviors, triggers, and emotional responses, which allows you to understand the dynamics at play. This awareness is empowering because it enables you to recognize when the cycle is repeating and decide how to respond, rather than being swept along by it. Breathing is one of the simplest yet most effective tools for practicing mindfulness. In moments of emotional intensity, whether it's anger, sadness, or fear, your breath anchors you to the present. Instead of reacting impulsively, taking a few slow, deep breaths allows you to pause and create a moment of stillness. In this stillness, you can observe your thoughts and feelings without being overwhelmed by them. This practice is particularly helpful in heated situations where emotions can escalate quickly and lead to decisions you may later regret. Mindfulness also involves tuning into your body. Toxic relationships often take a physical toll, manifesting as tension in your shoulders, knots in your stomach, or a racing heart. These physical sensations are signals from your body, reflecting the emotional strain you're under. By paying attention to these sensations, you gain a deeper understanding of how the relationship is affecting you. For instance, if you notice that you feel physically drained after every interaction with the other person, it's a sign that the relationship may be taking more from you than it's giving. Another aspect of mindfulness is cultivating curiosity. Instead of approaching the relationship with fixed assumptions or expectations, mindfulness invites you to explore it with an open mind. What are the underlying emotions driving your actions and theirs? What needs are being met, and which ones are being neglected? This curiosity allows you to move beyond surface-level judgments and uncover the deeper truths about the relationship. It also helps you approach conflicts with a desire to understand rather than to win, fostering more constructive communication. Mindfulness encourages self-inquiry, asking you to reflect on your role in the relationship. While it's easy to focus on the other person's behavior, true clarity comes from looking inward. Are you enabling certain dynamics by avoiding confrontation or ignoring red flags? Are you staying in the relationship out of love, fear, or obligation? These questions may be uncomfortable, but they're necessary for growth. Mindfulness creates a safe space for this self-reflection, allowing you to explore these questions with compassion rather than self-criticism. Practicing mindfulness also involves accepting what is, rather than clinging to what you wish it could be. In relationships, this means acknowledging the reality of the situation, rather than holding on to an idealized version of it. For example, you might wish that the other person would change, or that the relationship would return to how it was in the beginning. Mindfulness helps you see these desires for what they are, projections, and refocus on the present moment. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It means seeing the situation clearly so that you can make decisions based on reality rather than illusion. Non-reactivity is another benefit of mindfulness in relationships. Toxic dynamics often thrive on emotional reactions, whether it's anger, defensiveness, or guilt. When you react impulsively, you're operating on autopilot, repeating the same patterns that keep you stuck. Mindfulness interrupts this cycle by creating a pause between stimulus and response. Instead of reacting immediately, you observe your emotions, consider your options, and choose a response that aligns with your values and well-being. This shift not only diffuses tension, but also empowers you to take control of your actions. Compassion is a natural byproduct of mindfulness. When you approach the relationship with a clear and present mind, you're better able to see the other person's struggles and pain without losing sight of your own needs. This compassion isn't about excusing harmful behavior. It's about understanding the root causes of it. At the same time, mindfulness ensures that this compassion is balanced with self-respect, so you're not sacrificing your well-being in the process. Boundaries become clearer through mindfulness. By staying present and observing the dynamics of the relationship, you gain a deeper understanding of what you're willing to accept and what you're not. This clarity makes it easier to set and enforce boundaries, as they're rooted in an authentic understanding of your needs rather than reactive emotions. Mindfulness helps you communicate these boundaries calmly and assertively, creating a foundation for healthier interactions. Mindfulness also strengthens your ability to let go. When you're deeply attached to a relationship, letting go can feel like an impossible task. However, mindfulness teaches you to release the need to control or cling, allowing the relationship to evolve naturally. This doesn't mean giving up on it entirely. It means letting go of the illusions, fears, and expectations that cause suffering. In this state of openness, you can approach the relationship with greater clarity and authenticity, whether that means working to improve it or choosing to walk away. Mindfulness fosters gratitude for the lessons the relationship has taught you. Even in toxic dynamics, there are opportunities for growth and self-discovery. By staying present and observing the relationship objectively, you can recognize these lessons and use them as stepping stones toward a healthier, more balanced life. This perspective transforms pain into wisdom and allows you to move forward with a sense of purpose and empowerment. Developing mindfulness is not about fixing the relationship or erasing its challenges. It's about creating a space of clarity and peace within yourself, from which you can navigate the complexities of connection with grace and intention. Through mindfulness, you cultivate the awareness needed to see the relationship clearly, the courage to make conscious decisions, and the strength to honor your truth. This practice doesn't just change how you approach the relationship, it changes how you approach yourself, paving the way for a life filled with authenticity, balance, and emotional freedom. Mindfulness sheds light on the truth of your relationships, offering clarity and a sense of presence. But understanding the dynamics of toxic bonds often goes deeper than what is visible on the surface. Sometimes the patterns of pain and attachment feel oddly familiar, as if they're playing out on a loop. In Buddhist philosophy, this repetition isn't random. It is karma at work. Karma is not punishment or reward, but a reflection of cause and effect. It shapes the experiences we attract and the dynamics we endure, often rooted in actions, thoughts, and choices from the past. To truly break free from toxic relationships, understanding karma and how it influences your connections is crucial. Karma, at its essence, reflects the principle of interconnectedness. Every action, word, and thought creates ripples that influence not only your life, but the lives of those around you. In relationships, karmic ties often manifest as deeply ingrained patterns, behaviors, emotions, and conflicts that seem to recur no matter how much effort you put into changing them. These patterns can stem from unresolved issues in past relationships, whether with romantic partners, family members, or even friendships. Recognizing these karmic cycles is the first step toward breaking free. One way karma influences toxic relationships is through unmet emotional needs from the past. If you've experienced neglect, rejection, or conditional love in earlier relationships, you may unconsciously seek partners or connections that mirror those dynamics. This is not because you want to relive the pain, but because the unresolved energy from those experiences still lingers. The relationship becomes a stage where your subconscious mind attempts to heal old wounds, but without awareness, it often leads to more hurt instead of resolution. Another karmic element in toxic relationships is the role of projection. Sometimes the pain you've internalized from past experiences is projected onto your current relationships, creating conflict and misunderstanding. For example, if you've been betrayed before, you may carry a deep fear of betrayal that influences how you interpret your partner's actions. This fear, rooted in past karma, can create unnecessary tension and perpetuate toxic patterns. Mindfulness and self-reflection are essential tools for identifying these projections and distinguishing between past wounds and present reality. Karma also plays a role in the people you attract into your life. Toxic relationships often involve individuals who mirror your unresolved emotions or beliefs. For instance, if you struggle with self-worth, you may attract partners who reinforce those feelings by treating you poorly or failing to value you. This isn't a punishment. It's an opportunity to recognize the areas in your life that need healing. When you address these inner wounds, the energy you emit changes, and so do the types of connections you attract. Breaking free from karmic cycles in toxic relationships requires deep self-awareness and intentional action. One of the first steps is recognizing the lessons that the relationship is trying to teach you. Every interaction, no matter how painful, holds a mirror to your inner world. What beliefs about yourself are being challenged? What fears or insecurities are being triggered? By viewing the relationship as a teacher rather than a source of suffering, you shift from a victim mindset to one of empowerment and growth. Another way to release karmic ties is through forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning the other person's actions or allowing them back into your life. It means freeing yourself from the emotional burden of resentment, anger, or blame. Holding on to these emotions only reinforces the karmic cycle, keeping you tied to the relationship's energy. Forgiveness allows you to release this attachment and move forward with a lighter heart. This act of release is as much for your well-being as it is for breaking the karmic bond. Understanding karma in relationships also involves taking responsibility for your actions, thoughts, and choices. While it's easy to focus on the other person's behavior, it's essential to examine your role in the dynamic. Are there ways you've contributed to the toxicity, whether through enabling, avoidance, or reactive behavior? Taking ownership of your part doesn't mean blaming yourself. It means acknowledging the ways your energy and choices have influenced the relationship. This awareness empowers you to make different choices moving forward, creating a new karmic path. Boundaries are a powerful tool for shifting karmic dynamics. By setting and maintaining boundaries, you disrupt the patterns that keep the relationship toxic. Boundaries communicate to both yourself and the other person that certain behaviors are not acceptable and that your well-being is a priority. They help you reclaim your power and prevent the continuation of unhealthy cycles. In the context of karma, boundaries represent a conscious effort to change the energy of the relationship, redirecting it toward balance and respect. Meditation and reflection are also essential for breaking karmic ties. Through meditation, you can explore the deeper layers of your emotions and thoughts, uncovering the root causes of the patterns you experience. This practice allows you to process unresolved pain, release lingering attachments, and cultivate a sense of inner peace. Reflection, whether through journaling or self-inquiry, helps you connect the dots between your past experiences and present relationships, providing clarity on what needs to change. Another important aspect of karmic relationships is recognizing when it's time to let go. Some connections are meant to teach you lessons, not to last forever. Holding on to a relationship out of fear, guilt, or obligation only prolongs the karmic cycle. Letting go with grace and compassion allows both you and the other person to move forward and create new, healthier dynamics in your lives. This act of release is not a failure, but a powerful declaration of your commitment to growth and well-being. Karma also reminds us of the importance of intention. The energy you bring to your relationships, whether it's love, fear, anger, or compassion, shapes their outcome. By cultivating positive intentions, you can shift the dynamic of your connections, even in challenging situations. This doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing your emotions. It means approaching the relationship with a mindset of healing, understanding, and respect. When your intentions are rooted in authenticity and kindness, you create the conditions for transformation. Breaking free from karmic patterns also involves learning to trust yourself. Toxic relationships often erode your confidence and intuition, leaving you doubting your ability to make decisions or recognize red flags. Rebuilding this trust requires patience and practice. Start by tuning into your inner voice and honoring your feelings, even when they're uncomfortable. Trust that you have the wisdom and strength to navigate relationships with clarity and integrity. Karma teaches that the energy you cultivate within yourself is reflected in your external world. By focusing on your own healing and growth, you naturally attract relationships that align with your higher self. This doesn't mean avoiding challenges or difficult emotions. It means approaching them with awareness and a willingness to grow. The more you nurture your inner world, the less likely you are to repeat the patterns of the past. Understanding karma in relationships is not about assigning blame or seeking justice. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of your experiences and taking conscious steps to create a healthier, more balanced future. By addressing the root causes of toxic patterns, practicing forgiveness, setting boundaries, and cultivating self-awareness, you break free from the cycles that have held you back. This liberation not only transforms your relationships, but also deepens your connection to yourself and the world around you. Karma is not fixed or unchangeable. It is a dynamic, evolving force shaped by your thoughts, actions, and intentions. By embracing this truth, you empower yourself to rewrite the narrative of your relationships, moving from a cycle of pain to one of growth, love, and freedom. Each step you take toward breaking these patterns creates a ripple effect, not only in your own life, but in the lives of those around you, paving the way for a future filled with harmony and authenticity. Breaking free from karmic cycles reveals the interconnectedness of our actions and relationships, shedding light on the patterns that shape our experiences. But once we've identified these cycles and chosen to disrupt them, one critical step remains: forgiveness. Often misunderstood, forgiveness is not about condoning harm or dismissing the pain caused by someone's actions. It's a deeply personal act of liberation, one that unchains you from the emotional weight of resentment and anger. Forgiveness is not for the other person. It's a gift you give yourself, allowing you to reclaim your peace, clarity, and emotional freedom. Forgiveness begins with acknowledging your pain. When someone's actions hurt you, the emotions can run deep: anger, betrayal, sadness, or even shame. These feelings are valid, and denying them only prolongs your suffering. Forgiveness doesn't mean brushing aside these emotions. Instead, it invites you to face them honestly. By doing so, you honor your experience and allow yourself to process the pain, rather than burying it where it can quietly fester. This acknowledgement is the first step in untangling the emotional knots that hold you to the past. Resentment, when left unchecked, becomes a heavy burden. It's a constant replay of the hurt, an emotional tether that keeps you tied to the person or event that caused you pain. Over time, this resentment can seep into other areas of your life, clouding your thoughts, relationships, and sense of self. Forgiveness is the act of cutting this tether, not to forget what happened, but to free yourself from the grip it has on your present. It's about choosing to let go of the bitterness that weighs you down and reclaiming your emotional space for healing and growth. Forgiveness also allows you to take back your power. When you hold on to anger or blame, you inadvertently give the person who hurt you control over your emotions. They continue to occupy your thoughts and influence your feelings, even if they are no longer present in your life. Forgiving them doesn't mean excusing their behavior. It means refusing to let their actions dictate your happiness any longer. It's a powerful declaration that your peace is no longer dependent on their remorse or actions. One of the most profound aspects of forgiveness is the recognition that it's about you, not them. People often hesitate to forgive because they fear it means letting the other person off the hook. But forgiveness isn't about justice or reconciliation. It's about releasing yourself from the emotional cage of the past. You may never receive an apology or acknowledgement from the other person, but that doesn't make forgiveness any less transformative. It's a choice you make for your own well-being, independent of their response or lack thereof. Forgiveness also fosters self-compassion. When you forgive someone else, you're often confronted with your own vulnerabilities, mistakes, and imperfections. This process can be a reminder that we all carry flaws, and it invites you to extend the same kindness to yourself that you're offering to others. Self-forgiveness is a vital part of this journey. You may carry guilt for how you responded to the hurt or regret for not leaving the toxic relationship sooner. Forgiving yourself allows you to move forward without the weight of self-blame, opening the door to personal growth and renewed self-trust. Another benefit of forgiveness is the clarity it brings. Holding on to anger and resentment can cloud your judgment, making it difficult to see the situation objectively. Forgiveness clears this emotional fog, allowing you to gain insight into the relationship, the other person's behavior, and your own role in the dynamic. This clarity is essential for learning from the experience and avoiding similar patterns in the future. It transforms the pain into a lesson, turning what once felt like a setback into a stepping stone for growth. Forgiveness also helps you break the cycle of negativity that toxic relationships often create. When you hold on to anger, it can influence how you approach new relationships, leading to mistrust, defensiveness, or fear of vulnerability. By forgiving, you release this emotional baggage, making space for healthier connections. It doesn't mean forgetting what you've been through. It means choosing not to let it define your future. Practicing forgiveness is not always easy, especially when the pain feels fresh or profound. It's a process that requires patience and intention. One way to begin is through mindfulness. By observing your emotions without judgment, you can start to understand the roots of your pain and resentment. This awareness creates a space where forgiveness can begin to take root as you separate the hurt from the person who caused it. Mindfulness also helps you stay present, preventing you from being consumed by past grievances or future fears. Compassion is another powerful tool in the practice of forgiveness. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but it does involve recognizing the humanity in the person who hurt you. Everyone carries their own wounds, insecurities, and struggles, which often influence their actions. Compassion allows you to see beyond the hurt they caused and understand that their behavior likely stemmed from their own pain. This perspective doesn't justify their actions, but it can soften the grip of anger and open the door to forgiveness. Forgiveness also requires letting go of expectations. Often, we hold on to resentment because we're waiting for an apology, acknowledgement, or change in the other person. When these expectations aren't met, the anger lingers, keeping us stuck. Forgiveness asks you to release these expectations and focus on your own healing instead. It's about accepting that the other person may never provide the closure you seek, and choosing to create that closure for yourself. Boundaries play an essential role in forgiveness. Forgiving someone doesn't mean allowing them back into your life or tolerating their harmful behavior. In fact, setting boundaries is an act of self-respect and an important part of the forgiveness process. Boundaries ensure that while you release the emotional burden of resentment, you also protect yourself from further harm. Forgiveness and self-protection can coexist, creating a balance between compassion and self-preservation. Forgiveness also involves shifting your focus from blame to gratitude. While this may seem counterintuitive, reflecting on the lessons the experience taught you can transform your perspective. Perhaps the relationship revealed your inner strength, clarified your values, or taught you the importance of boundaries. By focusing on these takeaways, you turn the pain into a source of growth, making forgiveness a powerful tool for transformation. Forgiveness doesn't happen all at once. It's a journey that unfolds over time. You may find yourself revisiting old emotions or struggling with lingering resentment, and that's okay. Each step you take toward forgiveness is a step toward freedom. The key is to approach the process with patience and self-compassion, allowing yourself the space to heal at your own pace. The act of forgiveness also cultivates inner peace. When you release the emotional weight of resentment, you create space for joy, love, and contentment to flourish. This peace is not dependent on external circumstances, but comes from within, as a reflection of your choice to prioritize your well-being over the pain of the past. Forgiveness becomes a way of reclaiming your life, free from the shadows of anger and hurt. Ultimately, forgiveness is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself. It's a declaration of your worth, a statement that your happiness and peace are more important than holding on to pain. By forgiving, you break free from the chains of resentment, allowing yourself to step into a future defined not by the wounds of the past, but by the strength and clarity you've gained. It's a gift of freedom, growth, and self-love. A reminder that no matter what you've been through, you have the power to choose peace. Forgiveness liberates the heart, lifting the heavy burden of resentment and opening the way to peace. Yet, even as forgiveness brings release, there's a deeper truth we must embrace to truly move forward: the impermanence of all things. Relationships, like the seasons, are ever-changing. What begins as a source of joy may shift, grow, or even fade. This truth is not a loss. It is the natural rhythm of life. To find peace in our connections and in ourselves, we must learn to accept this impermanence, not as a threat, but as a profound and beautiful reality. Accepting impermanence starts with letting go of the illusion of permanence. In relationships, this illusion often creates a sense of control or security. You may hold on to the idea that a connection will remain unchanged, that the other person will always stay the same, or that the bond will never weaken. But life's nature is to evolve, and relationships are no exception. By clinging to permanence, you resist this natural flow, creating tension and suffering. Acceptance, on the other hand, allows you to experience relationships as they are, in their full vibrancy, without fear of what may come. Embracing impermanence also means recognizing the beauty in change. When relationships evolve, they often reveal new dimensions of growth and understanding. A friend who once felt like a sibling may drift apart, but the memories you share remain a testament to the connection you had. A romantic partner may no longer be part of your future, but the love and lessons from that relationship shape who you are today. Change does not erase the value of what was. It adds layers to the story of your life, enriching it in ways you may not immediately see. Impermanence challenges us to release attachment to outcomes. Often, relationships become a source of anxiety because of the expectations we place on them. You may want a relationship to fulfill certain roles, last a specific length of time, or meet your exact emotional needs. When these expectations aren't met, it can feel like failure. However, impermanence teaches that relationships are not about achieving a fixed goal, but about experiencing and appreciating them in the moment. When you let go of rigid expectations, you free yourself to enjoy the connection for what it is, rather than what you think it should be. This acceptance extends to the people within the relationship. Each person is constantly growing, learning, and changing. Clinging to who someone used to be, or who you want them to become, creates frustration and limits the depth of your connection. By embracing their evolution, you honor their journey and your own. It doesn't mean you have to stay in a relationship that no longer aligns with your values or needs, but it does mean letting go of the need to control their path and focusing instead on your growth and well-being. Impermanence also invites you to be present. The fleeting nature of relationships makes each moment with the people you care about all the more precious. Instead of taking connections for granted or worrying about their future, you can fully engage with the here and now. This presence deepens the bond, creating memories and experiences that endure even if the relationship changes or ends. It shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance, helping you see the richness in what you have rather than what you fear losing. Letting go of permanence also reduces the fear of endings. Many people stay in toxic or stagnant relationships because they are afraid of what life will look like without that connection. This fear stems from resistance to change, and a belief that endings are inherently negative. Impermanence teaches that endings are not failures, they are transformations. They create space for new opportunities, relationships, and growth. Accepting this truth allows you to face endings with grace and gratitude rather than fear. The concept of impermanence also helps you navigate loss. When a relationship ends, whether through separation, distance, or even death, it can feel overwhelming to accept the absence of someone who once played a central role in your life. But impermanence reminds you that their presence, however brief, had meaning. The love, lessons, and experiences shared remain a part of you, shaping your perspective and enriching your life. This understanding doesn't erase the pain of loss, but it gives it context, transforming it from something to avoid into something to honor. One of the most freeing aspects of impermanence is its ability to dissolve attachment. Attachment often creates suffering because it ties your happiness and identity to external factors, whether it's a specific relationship, role, or outcome. When those factors inevitably change, the attachment leads to disappointment and pain. Impermanence offers a different perspective. It encourages you to find fulfillment within yourself rather than seeking it externally. This shift reduces dependency and helps you approach relationships from a place of wholeness rather than need. Embracing impermanence also fosters resilience. When you accept that change is a natural part of life, you become better equipped to adapt when relationships shift or challenges arise. This resilience is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about trusting in your ability to navigate change and find meaning in it. It allows you to face the unknown with courage and an open heart, knowing that each experience contributes to your growth. Impermanence encourages gratitude for the present. Knowing that relationships are not guaranteed fosters a deeper appreciation for the connections you have right now. It reminds you to express love, kindness, and gratitude while you can, rather than waiting for a perfect moment that may never come. This gratitude enriches your relationships and creates a sense of fulfillment that lingers even if the connection evolves or ends. Acceptance of impermanence also helps you prioritize what truly matters. When you acknowledge that time is finite, you become more intentional about where and with whom you invest your energy. It inspires you to nurture meaningful connections, let go of superficial ones, and focus on relationships that align with your values and bring you joy. This intentionality creates a life filled with depth and authenticity, where each relationship holds purpose and significance. Another important lesson from impermanence is the balance between holding on and letting go. Relationships often require effort, patience, and commitment, but clinging tightly out of fear or insecurity can suffocate the connection. By embracing impermanence, you learn to strike a balance, cherishing the relationship while allowing it the freedom to grow, evolve, or even end. This balance creates a healthier dynamic where both people feel respected and free to be themselves. Impermanence also transforms how you view yourself within relationships. Just as others are constantly evolving, so are you. The person you were at the beginning of a relationship may not be the same as the person you are now, and that's okay. Embracing your own growth allows you to approach relationships with authenticity and self-awareness, fostering connections that reflect your true self rather than outdated versions of who you used to be. Impermanence teaches you to trust in the flow of life. Relationships, like rivers, are meant to move and change course. Trying to freeze them in place only disrupts their natural rhythm. By surrendering to this flow, you align yourself with the broader patterns of existence, finding peace in the knowledge that everything is unfolding as it should. This trust replaces anxiety with acceptance and transforms the fear of change into an opportunity for growth. Accepting impermanence is not about detachment or indifference. It's about embracing the full spectrum of life's experiences with openness and grace. It invites you to cherish relationships while they last, honor them when they end, and carry their lessons forward with gratitude. In this acceptance, you find freedom, not from relationships, but within them. You learn to let go without losing yourself, to love without clinging, and to grow without fear. This understanding enriches not only your relationships, but your entire approach to life, creating a sense of harmony and peace that transcends the boundaries of the fleeting and the permanent. Accepting the impermanence of relationships allows us to release the tight grip of control and expectation, paving the way for genuine connection and freedom. Yet, for some, the idea of letting go feels nearly impossible because their sense of identity has become entangled in the relationship itself. This entanglement is the essence of codependency, a pattern of losing oneself in the needs, emotions, and approval of another. It's a cycle that fosters imbalance and prevents true emotional independence. To break free from codependency, Buddhist detachment offers a transformative approach, one rooted in mindfulness, self-awareness, and compassion. Codependency often stems from a misplaced sense of responsibility. You might feel obligated to fix someone's problems, manage their emotions, or even bear the weight of their happiness. This creates a dynamic where your own needs are neglected in favor of theirs, leaving you drained and unfulfilled. Buddhist detachment reminds you that while you can care for others, you are not responsible for their inner world. Each person must navigate their own journey, and attempting to take on their burdens denies them the opportunity to grow. Detachment is not about withdrawing love or becoming indifferent. Instead, it is the practice of maintaining emotional boundaries that allow you to care without losing yourself in the process. It means offering support without overstepping into control or self-sacrifice. This balance fosters healthier relationships where both parties are free to grow as individuals rather than being enmeshed in a cycle of dependency. A significant aspect of codependency is the fear of abandonment or rejection. This fear often drives people to cling tightly to relationships, even when they are unhealthy. Detachment encourages you to confront this fear, not by avoiding it, but by understanding its root. Many fears of abandonment stem from past wounds or unmet needs, which are carried into present relationships. By addressing these underlying issues, you can begin to release the fear and build a sense of security within yourself, rather than seeking it externally. Mindfulness is an essential tool in breaking the cycle of codependency. It helps you become aware of the ways you may be overextending yourself or neglecting your own well-being in the relationship. For example, mindfulness allows you to notice when you're saying yes to something out of guilt rather than genuine desire, or when you're prioritizing someone else's needs at the expense of your own. This awareness creates a space where you can make intentional choices that align with your values and boundaries. Emotional independence is a key outcome of practicing detachment. In codependent relationships, your emotions are often tied to the other person's mood, behavior, or approval. This reliance creates instability, as your sense of self-worth fluctuates based on their actions. Detachment helps you reclaim your emotional autonomy by teaching you to anchor your feelings in your own values and experiences rather than external validation. This shift empowers you to navigate relationships with confidence and self-respect. Detachment also challenges the narrative that love requires self-sacrifice. True love, according to Buddhist teachings, is rooted in compassion and respect for both yourself and the other person. It is not about giving endlessly until you are depleted. It is about giving freely and authentically without expectation or obligation. This form of love nurtures both individuals and creates a relationship based on mutual support rather than dependence. Breaking the cycle of codependency often requires unlearning deeply ingrained habits and beliefs. For many, the pattern of putting others first is learned early in life, often as a way to gain approval or avoid conflict. Detachment invites you to examine these patterns and question their validity. Are you prioritizing others because it genuinely feels right, or because you fear the consequences of prioritizing yourself? This self-inquiry helps you uncover the motivations behind your actions and create new, healthier ways of relating. One of the most challenging aspects of detachment is learning to let go of control. In codependent relationships, there is often a desire to manage the other person's emotions, choices, or behavior. This control stems from a fear of uncertainty or a belief that their well-being is solely your responsibility. Detachment teaches you to release this need for control, trusting that each person is capable of navigating their own path. This trust creates space for authenticity and growth, both for you and for the other person. Setting boundaries is a practical expression of detachment. Boundaries define where your responsibilities end and the other person's begin. They are not barriers to connection, but safeguards that protect your emotional health and ensure mutual respect. For example, if someone frequently relies on you to solve their problems, setting a boundary might mean stepping back and allowing them to take responsibility for their own decisions. While this may feel uncomfortable at first, it ultimately strengthens the relationship by fostering independence and accountability. Another important aspect of detachment is cultivating self-worth from within. In codependent dynamics, your sense of value is often tied to how much you do for others or how needed you feel. This creates a cycle where you overextend yourself in an effort to prove your worth. Detachment reminds you that your value is inherent and does not depend on external validation. By nurturing self-compassion and recognizing your own needs, you create a foundation of self-worth that is unshakable, regardless of the dynamics of your relationships. Detachment also helps you embrace the impermanence of relationships. In codependency, there is often a fear of loss that drives clinging and control. Detachment teaches that relationships, like all things, are subject to change. Accepting this truth allows you to approach connections with openness and gratitude rather than fear. It encourages you to appreciate the present moment and let go of the need to hold on to the relationship at all costs. Breaking free from codependency often involves redefining what it means to support someone. In a codependent dynamic, support can blur into enabling, where you take on responsibilities that are not yours to bear. Detachment helps you recognize the difference between healthy support and enabling behavior. Healthy support empowers the other person to take ownership of their choices and challenges, while enabling reinforces dependency and prevents growth. Detachment is also an act of self-love. It is a declaration that your well-being matters and that you deserve relationships that uplift and respect you. This self-love is not selfish. It is the foundation for all healthy connections. When you honor your own needs and boundaries, you create a space where love can flourish authentically, free from the constraints of dependency. Practicing detachment requires patience and compassion, both for yourself and for the other person. Breaking the cycle of codependency is not an overnight process. It is a journey of unlearning, healing, and growth. Along the way, you may encounter resistance, both from within and from the other person. Detachment allows you to navigate these challenges with grace, staying true to your values and intentions, even when the path feels difficult. Detachment also fosters a sense of inner peace. When you release the need to control, fix, or overextend, you create space for stillness and balance in your life. This peace comes not from avoiding relationships, but from approaching them with clarity and intention. It allows you to engage with others from a place of wholeness rather than lack, transforming your connections into sources of joy and mutual respect. Ultimately, breaking the cycle of codependency with Buddhist detachment is an act of liberation. It frees you from the constraints of fear, control, and dependency, allowing you to step into relationships as your authentic self. It teaches you that love is not about losing yourself in someone else, but about sharing your journey while honoring your individuality. Through detachment, you cultivate a sense of freedom and empowerment that transforms not only your relationships, but your entire approach to life. Detachment liberates us from the suffocating grip of codependency, offering a path to emotional independence and inner peace. Yet, even as we untangle ourselves from unhealthy dynamics, the residue of resentment often lingers, a heavy weight that can cloud our thoughts and dim our spirit. Resentment, left unchecked, festers within, stealing joy and tarnishing the way we see ourselves and others. To truly heal, this weight must be lifted, and few practices are as profound in this regard as loving kindness meditation, or metta bhavana. This practice allows you to transform resentment into compassion, creating space for warmth and goodwill to replace the bitterness that once held you captive. Loving kindness meditation begins with the simplest yet most profound step: cultivating a sense of kindness and compassion toward yourself. Often, resentment isn't just directed outward, it's turned inward, manifesting as self-criticism or guilt. You might carry resentment toward yourself for staying too long in a toxic relationship, for ignoring red flags, or for not standing up for your needs. Metta bhavana invites you to soften these harsh judgments. By focusing on self-directed kindness, you create a foundation for deeper healing, allowing yourself to embrace your imperfections with gentleness and understanding. As you practice metta bhavana, you start by silently offering yourself phrases of goodwill, such as, "May I be happy," "May I be healthy," "May I be free from suffering." These simple affirmations are more than just words. They're an acknowledgement of your intrinsic worth and a declaration of your commitment to your own well-being. This act of self-compassion is not selfish. It's a necessary step toward releasing resentment, as it reminds you that you're deserving of love and peace, regardless of what you've endured. Once you've nurtured a sense of compassion for yourself, loving kindness meditation extends outward to others. You might begin with someone you care about deeply, someone who evokes feelings of warmth and affection. Offering phrases of goodwill to this person, such as, "May you be happy," "May you be safe," "May you live with ease," reinforces the practice of kindness. This step helps you cultivate the habit of wishing well for others, which prepares you for the more challenging task of directing loving kindness toward those who have hurt you. The transformative power of metta bhavana becomes most apparent when you turn your attention to those toward whom you feel resentment. It may feel counterintuitive, even impossible, to extend kindness to someone who's caused you pain. Yet this act is not about excusing their behavior or forgetting what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the grip of anger and bitterness that keeps you tethered to the past. Resentment often binds you to the very people and situations you wish to leave behind, while loving kindness offers a way to release that bond and reclaim your peace. Offering loving kindness to someone who has hurt you begins with small steps. You don't have to force yourself to feel immediate compassion. Instead, focus on the intention. Silently repeat phrases like, "May you be free from suffering," or "May you find peace." At first, these words may feel hollow or insincere, but with time and practice, they begin to soften the edges of your resentment. This softening doesn't erase the pain or invalidate your feelings. It simply creates space for healing to unfold. One of the most powerful aspects of loving kindness meditation is its ability to shift your perspective. Resentment often stems from a singular focus on the harm done to you, which can amplify feelings of anger and victimization. Metta bhavana encourages you to see the other person's humanity, recognizing that their actions may have been shaped by their own pain, ignorance, or struggles. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you approach the situation with greater understanding and less animosity. Compassion for others does not mean condoning their actions. It means acknowledging their complexity as human beings. Practicing loving-kindness meditation regularly can also help dissolve the cycle of blame. When resentment is left unaddressed, it often perpetuates a narrative of us versus them, reinforcing feelings of separation and conflict. Metta bhavana bridges this divide by fostering a sense of connection. By extending goodwill to others, even those who have wronged you, you affirm the shared human experience of seeking happiness and avoiding suffering. This recognition creates a sense of unity that can dissolve the walls resentment builds. Loving-kindness meditation also has a profound impact on your emotional and physical well-being. Studies have shown that practicing metta bhavana can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and increase feelings of happiness and contentment. These benefits arise because the practice shifts your focus from negativity to positivity, from anger to compassion. Over time, this shift creates a ripple effect, transforming not only how you feel about yourself and others, but also how you engage with the world. Another essential aspect of loving-kindness meditation is its emphasis on impermanence. Resentment often feels eternal, as if the hurt and anger will never fade. Metta bhavana challenges this perception by reminding you that emotions, like all things, are transient. By sitting with your resentment and offering kindness instead of resistance, you allow the emotion to move through you rather than becoming stuck. This process of acknowledgement and release is a powerful antidote to the stagnation resentment creates. The practice of metta bhavana also strengthens your ability to forgive. Forgiveness doesn't mean erasing the past or reconciling with someone who has harmed you. It means choosing to let go of the emotional weight of resentment, freeing yourself to live fully in the present. Loving kindness meditation supports this process by fostering compassion and understanding, which are essential components of forgiveness. It helps you release the grip of anger, not for the sake of the other person, but for your own liberation. One of the most challenging yet rewarding aspects of loving kindness meditation is extending goodwill to all beings, including those you may never meet, or even those who might have caused harm on a larger scale. This universal compassion reflects the Buddhist principle of interconnectedness, reminding you that your well-being is tied to the well-being of others. By cultivating loving kindness on a broader scale, you expand your capacity for compassion, making it easier to release resentment in specific relationships. Loving kindness meditation also encourages patience and perseverance. Releasing resentment is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. Some days the practice may feel effortless, while on others it may feel like a struggle. The key is to remain committed, trusting that each effort contributes to your healing. Even when the progress feels slow, every moment spent practicing loving kindness is a step toward greater peace and freedom. As you continue to practice Metta-bhavana, you may notice its effects extending beyond your inner world. Your interactions with others may become more compassionate and less reactive, as the practice fosters a sense of calm and perspective. Relationships that once felt strained by resentment may begin to shift as your energy becomes less defensive and more open. This transformation is not about changing others, but about changing how you engage with them, which often creates a ripple effect of positive change. Releasing resentment through loving kindness meditation is one of the most profound acts of self-care you can offer yourself. It's a way of saying that your peace matters more than your pain, that your well-being is worth prioritizing. By replacing bitterness with compassion, you create space for joy, connection, and growth to flourish. This practice doesn't just heal the wounds of the past, it lays the foundation for a future filled with lightness, kindness, and freedom. The practice of loving kindness opens the door to a profound release, allowing resentment to dissolve and compassion to fill its place. However, compassion does not mean permitting harm or allowing others to overstep your emotional and personal limits. To maintain the peace cultivated through loving kindness, boundaries are essential. Boundaries are not walls that separate you from others. They are bridges that connect you to your true self, while fostering respect and understanding in your relationships. The Buddhist principle of compassionate detachment offers a unique approach to creating boundaries that protect your inner peace without hostility or defensiveness. Setting healthy boundaries begins with clarity. Many people struggle with boundaries because they are unclear about their own needs and limits. Without this clarity, it's easy to fall into patterns of overextending yourself, tolerating disrespect, or sacrificing your well-being for the sake of others. Compassionate detachment invites you to turn inward and reflect on what truly supports your peace and happiness. This self-awareness forms the foundation for boundaries that are authentic and meaningful, rather than reactive or arbitrary. Boundaries rooted in compassion are not about shutting people out. They are about inviting respect and mutual understanding. When you set a boundary, you're not punishing someone or rejecting their presence in your life. Instead, you're communicating your needs in a way that fosters a healthier dynamic for both parties. Compassionate detachment helps you approach this process with kindness, ensuring that your boundaries are not motivated by anger or resentment, but by a genuine desire to nurture peace and respect. The Buddhist perspective on detachment emphasizes the importance of letting go of control. Often people resist setting boundaries because they fear how others will react. This fear creates a cycle of avoidance, where you prioritize others' comfort over your own well-being. Compassionate detachment teaches that you cannot control how someone responds to your boundaries, and their reaction is not your responsibility. Your focus should be on expressing your truth with clarity and kindness, trusting that their response is a reflection of their own journey, not yours. Mindfulness plays a crucial role in establishing boundaries. By staying present, you can recognize when your limits are being tested or when a situation begins to feel uncomfortable. This awareness allows you to address the issue before it escalates, rather than reacting out of frustration or exhaustion. Mindfulness also helps you communicate your boundaries calmly and effectively, as it prevents you from being overwhelmed by emotions in the moment. A clear and composed mindset ensures that your message is received with greater understanding. Compassionate detachment also encourages you to release the need for approval. Setting boundaries can be difficult when you fear disappointing others or being seen as selfish. However, seeking constant approval often leads to sacrificing your own needs, which breeds resentment and imbalance. Detachment helps you recognize that while it's natural to want positive relationships, your worth is not determined by others' opinions of you. By prioritizing your peace and well-being, you cultivate a sense of inner validation that frees you from the need for external approval. Boundaries are an act of self-respect. When you set a boundary, you're affirming that your needs and feelings are valid and deserve consideration. This self-respect is not only empowering, but also contagious. When you treat yourself with dignity, you encourage others to do the same. Compassionate detachment ensures that this self-respect doesn't come at the expense of kindness, as it teaches you to assert your needs without diminishing the value or feelings of others. One of the most transformative aspects of compassionate detachment is its emphasis on balance. Boundaries are not about withdrawing from relationships or becoming emotionally distant. They are about finding a middle path between enmeshment and isolation. This balance allows you to maintain meaningful connections while preserving your autonomy and inner peace. It creates space for both intimacy and individuality, fostering relationships that are grounded in mutual respect and understanding. The process of setting boundaries often requires confronting discomfort. You may fear conflict, rejection, or the possibility of losing a relationship. Compassionate detachment helps you navigate this discomfort by shifting your focus from external outcomes to internal alignment. When your actions are rooted in your values and truth, the discomfort becomes a temporary challenge rather than an insurmountable obstacle. This perspective empowers you to act with integrity, even when it feels difficult. Communication is key to setting healthy boundaries. How you express your needs can greatly influence how they are received. Compassionate detachment encourages you to communicate with honesty and kindness, avoiding blame or accusations. Instead of saying, "You never respect my time," you might say, "I feel overwhelmed when plans are changed at the last minute. I need more consistency to manage my schedule." This approach fosters understanding and reduces defensiveness, creating a foundation for constructive dialogue. Boundaries also require consistency. It's not enough to set them once and hope they'll be honored indefinitely. Compassionate detachment reminds you to uphold your boundaries with gentle persistence, even when it feels inconvenient. This consistency reinforces their importance and prevents the erosion of your well-being over time. It also communicates to others that your boundaries are non-negotiable, which fosters respect and reduces the likelihood of repeated violations. Forgiveness plays a role in maintaining boundaries. There may be times when others unintentionally overstep your limits, or when you struggle to uphold them yourself. Compassionate detachment encourages you to approach these moments with understanding rather than judgment. Forgiving yourself and others for boundary missteps creates an environment of growth and learning rather than one of blame or resentment. This forgiveness strengthens your resolve to continue setting and maintaining boundaries, knowing that imperfection is part of the process. Boundaries are not static. They evolve as you grow and as your relationships change. Compassionate detachment invites you to regularly reassess your boundaries, ensuring they continue to align with your needs and values. This flexibility is not about compromising your well-being, but about adapting to new circumstances with mindfulness and intention. It allows your boundaries to remain relevant and effective, supporting your peace and harmony in every stage of life. Another vital aspect of boundaries is learning to say no. For many, saying no feels uncomfortable as it risks disappointing others or appearing unkind. However, compassionate detachment reframes no as an act of love, both for yourself and for the other person. Saying no when something compromises your well-being ensures that you can show up fully and authentically in your relationships, rather than becoming overwhelmed or resentful. It also teaches others to respect your limits and take responsibility for their own needs. Boundaries also extend to your relationship with yourself. Compassionate detachment encourages you to set limits on self-criticism, overworking, or neglecting your well-being. Just as you would protect your peace in a relationship with someone else, you must do the same in your relationship with yourself. This self-boundary fosters a sense of balance and self-care, ensuring that you treat yourself with the same compassion and respect you offer to others. The practice of setting boundaries is deeply empowering. It shifts the focus from external control to internal agency, reminding you that you have the power to create a life aligned with your values and needs. Compassionate detachment enhances this empowerment by grounding your boundaries in kindness and understanding, ensuring they support not only your well-being, but also the health of your relationships. Boundaries are not barriers to connection. They are the foundation of meaningful, balanced relationships. By setting and maintaining boundaries with compassion, you create a space where respect, understanding, and authenticity can thrive. Compassionate detachment transforms boundaries from a source of conflict into a tool for harmony, fostering a life of peace and intentionality. Through this practice, you not only protect your inner peace, but also honor the humanity and dignity of everyone you encounter. Boundaries rooted in compassion help safeguard your inner peace, but there are moments when even the healthiest boundaries cannot salvage a relationship. Letting go becomes the only path forward. However, the process of letting go often stirs powerful emotions. Anger, bitterness, and even the desire for revenge can arise, threatening to overshadow the healing you seek. Learning to release a relationship without clinging to these toxic emotions is an act of profound strength and wisdom. This journey is not about erasing the hurt or forgetting the past. It is about cultivating equanimity, a balanced state of mind that allows you to part ways with dignity and grace. Letting go without anger or revenge begins with acceptance. Often, the emotions that arise when a relationship ends are tied to resistance to the reality of the situation, to the other person's actions, or to your own feelings of pain. Accepting what has happened does not mean you condone hurtful behavior or dismiss your emotions. It means you acknowledge the truth of the situation as it is, without trying to change or control it. This acceptance creates a foundation for moving forward with clarity, free from the turmoil of denial or resistance. Equanimity, a core principle in Buddhist philosophy, plays a crucial role in this process. It teaches you to remain steady and composed, even in the face of emotional upheaval. Cultivating equanimity does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means observing them without judgment, allowing them to rise and fall like waves. By practicing this awareness, you create space between yourself and your emotions, reducing their power to dictate your actions or cloud your judgment. This emotional steadiness enables you to let go without being consumed by anger or a need for retaliation. Forgiveness is another essential step in letting go without toxic emotions. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as excusing someone's actions or pretending the hurt didn't happen. In reality, forgiveness is an act of liberation. It frees you from the grip of resentment and allows you to reclaim your peace. This does not mean you have to reconcile with the person or invite them back into your life. It simply means you release the emotional hold their actions have over you, choosing your well-being over the weight of unresolved anger. Practicing forgiveness can be challenging, especially when the pain feels fresh or profound. One way to approach it is through empathy. While it's not always easy, trying to understand the other person's perspective can soften feelings of anger or blame. Recognizing that their actions may have been shaped by their own struggles or limitations does not excuse their behavior, but it can help you see them as human rather than as a source of harm. This perspective creates room for compassion, which is a powerful antidote to anger. Letting go without anger also requires releasing the need for closure. Many people hold on to resentment because they feel they need answers, apologies, or acknowledgement to move forward. While closure can be comforting, it is not always possible, and waiting for it can keep you trapped in a cycle of frustration. Instead, focus on creating your own closure by reflecting on what the relationship taught you and how it shaped your growth. This internal closure empowers you to let go on your terms, without relying on the other person to provide it. Revenge often stems from a desire to regain a sense of power or control after feeling hurt or wronged. However, acting on this desire only perpetuates the cycle of pain, keeping you tied to the very situation you wish to leave behind. True power lies in your ability to rise above these impulses, choosing actions that align with your values rather than reacting from a place of hurt. Letting go with grace is not about letting the other person off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the toxicity of retaliation. Mindfulness is a valuable tool for navigating the emotions that arise during the process of letting go. By staying present, you can observe your thoughts and feelings without being overwhelmed by them. Mindfulness allows you to recognize when anger or bitterness begins to take hold, giving you the opportunity to pause and choose a different response. This practice helps you remain grounded, ensuring that your actions reflect your intentions rather than your emotions. Another key aspect of letting go is focusing on your own healing and growth. When a relationship ends, it's natural to dwell on what went wrong or how the other person contributed to the pain. However, this focus keeps you tethered to the past, preventing you from moving forward. Shifting your attention to your own journey allows you to reclaim your energy and invest it in activities and practices that nurture your well-being. This self-care is not selfish. It is a necessary part of releasing the emotional ties that bind you to the relationship. Compassionate detachment plays a significant role in letting go without anger or revenge. This practice involves caring for others without becoming entangled in their actions or emotions. It allows you to recognize the other person's humanity while maintaining your own emotional boundaries. Detachment helps you approach the end of a relationship with understanding rather than hostility, creating a space for both parties to move forward without lingering negativity. Gratitude can also be a powerful tool for releasing resentment. While it may seem counterintuitive, reflecting on the positive aspects of the relationship, even in the midst of pain, can help shift your perspective. Gratitude does not negate the hurt or justify harmful behavior, but it reminds you of the moments of connection, growth, or joy that the relationship brought into your life. This acknowledgement helps you let go with a sense of peace, knowing that the experience, however challenging, contributed to your journey. Letting go without toxic emotions also involves setting clear intentions. Before ending a relationship or addressing unresolved feelings, take time to reflect on what you hope to achieve. Are you seeking peace, clarity, or freedom? By defining your intentions, you can approach the situation with purpose and avoid being swayed by reactive emotions. These intentions serve as a guide, helping you navigate the complexities of letting go with integrity and self-awareness. Resentment often thrives on unmet expectations. When a relationship ends, it's easy to focus on how the other person failed to meet your needs or fulfill your hopes. Letting go without anger involves releasing these expectations and accepting the reality of what the relationship was, rather than what you wished it to be. This acceptance does not diminish the pain, but helps you move beyond it, creating space for healing and growth. Letting go also means releasing the narrative of blame. While it's natural to assign responsibility for the pain, clinging to blame keeps you tethered to the past and prevents you from finding closure. Instead, focus on taking responsibility for your own healing. This shift empowers you to move forward, knowing that your well-being is in your hands, not dependent on the actions or apologies of others. Equanimity teaches you to approach endings with a sense of balance and perspective. Relationships, like all aspects of life, are impermanent, and their endings are not a reflection of failure, but of life's natural ebb and flow. By embracing this truth, you can let go without clinging to anger or regret, trusting that each ending creates space for new beginnings. Ultimately, letting go without anger or revenge is an act of self-love. It is a choice to prioritize your peace and well-being over the weight of past hurts. This process requires courage, patience, and compassion, but it also brings profound freedom. By releasing the grip of toxic emotions, you open the door to a future defined not by the pain of what was lost, but by the possibilities of what lies ahead. Letting go without anger or revenge creates a space for peace, but that space can often feel unfamiliar, even fragile. The emptiness left behind after ending a toxic relationship may stir a mixture of relief, sadness, and uncertainty. This is where the true work begins, healing yourself and rediscovering the inner harmony that was once overshadowed by emotional chaos. Buddhist practices offer a gentle, powerful path to self-care, focusing on nurturing self-love, regaining balance, and embracing your wholeness. Healing after letting go starts with acknowledging your emotions without judgment. It is natural to feel a range of emotions, from grief to relief, after releasing a toxic connection. Instead of pushing these feelings aside or rushing to move on, Buddhist teachings encourage you to sit with them and allow them to flow freely. By observing your emotions without clinging to them, you give yourself permission to process the pain and let it dissipate naturally. This practice of mindful observation creates a sense of emotional freedom, as it prevents you from being overwhelmed or trapped by what you feel. Self-compassion is the cornerstone of healing. After a toxic relationship, you may find yourself revisiting mistakes, questioning your choices, or carrying guilt for staying too long or not seeing the signs earlier. Buddhist self-care begins with extending kindness to yourself, just as you would to a dear friend in pain. This means recognizing that you did the best you could with the knowledge and resources you had at the time. Self-compassion replaces self-criticism with understanding, creating a nurturing environment where healing can take root. Reconnecting with your inner self is an essential part of the healing process. In a toxic relationship, it is common to lose sight of who you are, as the dynamics may have demanded that you suppress your needs, values, or identity. Buddhist practices, such as meditation and mindfulness, guide you back to yourself. By sitting in stillness and observing your thoughts, you begin to rediscover the core of who you are, beyond the roles you played or the expectations placed on you. This reconnection restores a sense of wholeness and reminds you that your identity is not defined by the relationship you left behind. Another important aspect of healing is cultivating a sense of gratitude, not for the pain itself, but for the strength and lessons it revealed. Buddhist philosophy emphasizes the transformative power of adversity, encouraging you to see challenges as opportunities for growth. Reflecting on what you learned from the relationship, about yourself, your boundaries, or your needs, can shift your perspective from one of loss to one of empowerment. Gratitude fosters resilience and helps you carry forward the wisdom gained from the experience. Healing also involves restoring balance in your life. Toxic relationships often create imbalances where your energy is disproportionately focused on the other person or on managing conflict. Rebuilding balance means redirecting that energy toward activities and practices that nourish you. This could be as simple as spending time in nature, pursuing a creative hobby, or reconnecting with supportive friends and family. These acts of self-care remind you that you are deserving of joy and fulfillment, independent of any relationship. The practice of mindfulness is particularly powerful in maintaining balance during the healing process. Mindfulness helps you stay present, preventing you from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. It allows you to fully engage with the present moment, appreciating its richness and beauty. This presence creates a sense of calm and stability, grounding you as you navigate the complexities of healing. Releasing attachments is another key element of self-care. After a toxic relationship, you may find yourself holding on to remnants of the connection, whether it's physical mementos, unresolved feelings, or lingering what-ifs. Buddhist teachings encourage you to let go of these attachments, not by suppressing them, but by acknowledging their impermanence. Letting go creates space for new experiences and allows you to move forward unencumbered by the weight of the past. Practicing loving kindness toward yourself is a profound way to nurture healing. Loving kindness meditation, or metta bhavana, involves offering phrases of goodwill to yourself, such as, "May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be free from suffering." This practice not only cultivates self-love, but also reinforces your commitment to your own well-being. It shifts your focus from the pain of the past to the possibilities of the present, creating a foundation of positivity and hope. Establishing healthy routines is another important aspect of healing. Toxic relationships often disrupt your sense of stability, leaving you feeling unmoored. Creating a daily routine that includes practices like meditation, exercise, or journaling can help you regain a sense of structure and control. These routines serve as anchors, providing consistency and comfort as you navigate the ups and downs of healing. Buddhist teachings also emphasize the importance of non-attachment to outcomes. As you heal, it's natural to hope for a certain timeline or specific results. However, clinging to these expectations can create frustration or disappointment if progress feels slow. Non-attachment teaches you to trust the process, allowing healing to unfold in its own time and in its own way. This patience creates space for deeper and more sustainable growth. Connecting with a supportive community can also enhance your healing journey. In Buddhism, the Sangha, or spiritual community, plays a vital role in providing guidance and encouragement. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift and support you can make a significant difference in your recovery. Whether it's close friends, family, or a group that shares your values, these connections remind you that you are not alone and that healing is a shared human experience. Healing after a toxic relationship also involves setting intentions for the future. While it's important to process the past, dwelling on it can keep you stuck. Setting intentions allows you to shift your focus toward what you want to create moving forward. These intentions don't have to be grand. They can be as simple as prioritizing your well-being, pursuing a passion, or fostering healthy relationships. Intentions serve as a guiding light, helping you navigate the path ahead with clarity and purpose. Rebuilding trust in yourself is another critical aspect of healing. Toxic relationships often erode your confidence in your own judgment or instincts. Buddhist practices encourage you to reconnect with your inner wisdom by cultivating self-awareness and mindfulness. As you begin to trust yourself again, you strengthen your ability to make decisions that align with your values and protect your well-being. Healing is about embracing the impermanence of pain. Just as joy is fleeting, so too is sorrow. Buddhist philosophy reminds you that all emotions, no matter how intense, will eventually pass. By holding this truth in your heart, you can approach the healing process with hope and patience, knowing that the pain you feel today will transform into peace and wisdom with time. Through these practices, healing becomes not just a process of recovery, but a journey of transformation. It is an opportunity to rediscover your strength, reclaim your peace, and create a life that reflects your true self. Buddhist approaches to self-care provide the tools and guidance to navigate this journey with grace, empowering you to move forward with a heart that is whole and a spirit that is free. The journey of healing after letting go of a toxic relationship brings moments of clarity, self-compassion, and renewed strength. Yet, there remains a deeper layer to explore, transforming the pain you experienced into a source of wisdom and growth. Pain, while difficult to endure, carries lessons that have the potential to elevate your understanding of yourself, others, and the world around you. It is not the suffering itself, but what you choose to do with it that defines your path forward. Through this transformation, challenges become opportunities, and endings become beginnings. Pain from a toxic relationship can feel overwhelming, but it often serves as a mirror, reflecting truths about your values, boundaries, and patterns. When viewed through the lens of growth, these reflections offer insights into your emotional needs and vulnerabilities. Instead of avoiding or suppressing this pain, allow yourself to explore it with curiosity and openness. What does the pain reveal about what you tolerated, what you long for, or what you lacked? Each revelation holds a seed of wisdom, showing you areas where healing and growth are most needed. A significant aspect of transforming pain into wisdom is taking responsibility for your role in the dynamic. This does not mean blaming yourself for being mistreated, but rather acknowledging where your choices or actions may have contributed to the relationship's challenges. Perhaps you ignored red flags, compromised your values, or struggled to assert your needs. Taking responsibility empowers you to learn from these experiences, ensuring that you approach future relationships with greater awareness and intentionality. Pain also highlights your resilience. Enduring a toxic relationship and finding the strength to leave it behind is no small feat. Reflecting on the courage it took to make that decision can shift your perspective from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. Recognizing your resilience reminds you of your capacity to navigate difficult situations and emerge stronger on the other side. This newfound strength becomes a cornerstone for building a life rooted in self-respect and authenticity. One of the profound lessons pain teaches is the importance of boundaries. Toxic relationships often push the limits of what you can endure, exposing areas where your boundaries may have been too porous or undefined. This awareness gives you the opportunity to redefine and reinforce your limits, ensuring that future relationships honor your needs and well-being. Pain, in this context, becomes a teacher, guiding you toward greater self-protection and self-respect. Transforming pain into wisdom also involves cultivating empathy. Experiencing emotional hardship deepens your understanding of the struggles others may face, fostering compassion and connection. This empathy is not about excusing harmful behavior, but about recognizing the complexity of human emotions and relationships. By acknowledging your own pain, you become better equipped to support others with kindness and understanding, creating a ripple effect of healing and growth. Self-awareness is another gift that emerges from transforming pain. Toxic relationships often bring hidden patterns and unresolved wounds to the surface, offering an opportunity to address them with clarity and intention. Perhaps you discovered a tendency to prioritize others at your own expense, or realized that fear of loneliness kept you in a harmful dynamic. These insights empower you to break free from old patterns and create healthier relationships moving forward. Spiritual growth often arises from the depths of pain. In Buddhism, suffering is seen as a natural part of life and a pathway to enlightenment when approached mindfully. The pain of a toxic relationship can become a catalyst for spiritual awakening, encouraging you to seek deeper meaning and purpose. This growth is not about bypassing your emotions, but about integrating the lessons they bring into a broader understanding of yourself and your place in the world. Letting go of resentment is a critical step in transforming pain. Holding on to anger or bitterness keeps you tethered to the past, preventing you from fully embracing the wisdom it offers. Releasing these emotions does not mean forgetting or condoning what happened. It means choosing peace over prolonged suffering. Forgiveness, both for yourself and the other person, is a profound act of liberation that allows you to move forward with clarity and grace. Mindfulness is a valuable tool for turning pain into wisdom. By staying present with your emotions, you can observe them without being overwhelmed or consumed. This practice helps you distinguish between the stories you tell yourself about the pain and the actual experience of it. Mindfulness creates space for reflection and insight, allowing you to uncover the lessons hidden within the discomfort. Over time, this practice fosters a sense of calm and resilience, even in the face of challenging emotions. Another aspect of transforming pain is embracing the impermanence of suffering. Just as relationships change and evolve, so too does pain. Buddhist philosophy teaches that all emotions, no matter how intense, are transient. This understanding allows you to approach your pain with patience and compassion, trusting that it will eventually give way to healing and growth. Embracing impermanence also encourages you to stay open to the new possibilities that arise when you release the past. Pain also teaches you the value of self-love. In a toxic relationship, you may have compromised your well-being to meet someone else's needs or expectations. The pain of that experience underscores the importance of prioritizing your own happiness and health. Transforming pain into wisdom means learning to nurture yourself, setting aside time for rest, joy, and self-discovery. This self-love becomes a foundation for future relationships, ensuring that they are built on mutual respect and care. Resilience, empathy, self-awareness, and spiritual growth are not the only outcomes of transforming pain. There is also a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges you faced can inspire you to support others who are navigating similar struggles, turning your experience into a source of guidance and encouragement. Whether through sharing your story, offering advice, or simply being present for someone in need, your pain can become a beacon of hope and strength for others. Transforming pain into wisdom also involves reimagining your narrative. Instead of viewing the toxic relationship as a failure or loss, you can see it as a chapter in your journey of growth. This shift in perspective allows you to reclaim your power, recognizing that the experience shaped you in meaningful ways. It reminds you that your story is not defined by the pain you endured, but by the resilience and wisdom you gained. Growth often requires stepping into discomfort, and the pain of a toxic relationship is no exception. Facing the raw emotions and difficult truths that arise is not easy, but it is necessary for transformation. Buddhist teachings encourage you to lean into this discomfort with curiosity and openness, trusting that it holds the key to your evolution. By embracing the process, you allow pain to become a source of strength and insight, rather than a barrier to your progress. Transforming pain into wisdom is about cultivating hope. The end of a toxic relationship may feel like the closing of a door, but it also marks the beginning of a new chapter. The lessons you learn and the growth you experience create a foundation for a brighter future, one where you are equipped to build healthier connections, honor your worth, and embrace life with authenticity and courage. Pain, when met with intention and reflection, becomes not just a challenge to overcome, but a stepping stone toward the life you truly deserve. Transforming pain into wisdom reveals the depth of strength and insight that emerges from challenging experiences. Yet, as you navigate the complexities of personal growth, the way you end relationships also becomes a reflection of your inner transformation. When the time comes to close a chapter, the words you choose and the intention behind them hold immense power. Ending a relationship, particularly a toxic one, mindfully requires communication that aligns with truth, compassion, and purpose. The Buddhist principle of right speech provides a guiding framework for this process, helping you navigate these moments with clarity and integrity. Right speech is not just about the words you use, but the energy they carry and the intention behind them. It emphasizes communication that is truthful, kind, and necessary. When ending a relationship, these principles serve as anchors, ensuring that your words honor both your truth and the dignity of the other person. Speaking truthfully does not mean being harsh or brutally honest. It means expressing your feelings and needs in a way that reflects authenticity without causing unnecessary harm. The first element of right speech, truthfulness, requires you to be clear and honest about your reasons for ending the relationship. Avoiding or sugarcoating the truth may seem like an easier path, but it often creates confusion and prolongs the emotional entanglement. Truthfulness invites you to articulate your feelings and boundaries with sincerity, allowing both parties to gain clarity and move forward. This honesty is not about placing blame, but about taking responsibility for your own well-being and expressing your needs with respect. Kindness is equally important in practicing right speech. Ending a relationship, even a toxic one, is a vulnerable moment for both individuals. Choosing words that reflect empathy and understanding helps to soften the impact of the conversation. Kindness does not mean avoiding difficult truths or sacrificing your boundaries. It means delivering those truths with compassion. Acknowledging the other person's humanity, even in the midst of pain or conflict, creates space for closure and healing. The necessity of your words is another key principle of right speech. Before speaking, reflect on whether what you're about to say is truly essential to the conversation. Unnecessary comments or criticisms often arise from anger or frustration and serve no constructive purpose. By focusing on what is necessary, you streamline the conversation, ensuring that your words are meaningful and aligned with your intention to end the relationship mindfully. Right speech also involves mindful listening. Communication is not solely about expressing your own thoughts. It is also about creating a space for the other person to be heard. Listening without interruption or judgment demonstrates respect, even if you disagree with their perspective. This act of presence and attentiveness helps to de-escalate tension and fosters a sense of mutual understanding, even in moments of disagreement. Timing plays a crucial role in ending relationships mindfully. Right speech encourages you to consider the context and emotional state of both individuals before initiating the conversation. Choosing a time when you're both calm and focused allows for a more constructive dialogue. Rushed or emotionally charged conversations often lead to misunderstandings and heightened conflict. By approaching the conversation with patience and intention, you create an environment where right speech can thrive. Non-attachment is another important aspect of practicing right speech during this process. It is natural to feel tempted to seek validation, justify your actions, or elicit a specific response from the other person. However, these attachments can cloud your communication and lead to unnecessary tension. Right speech teaches you to speak from a place of inner alignment, without being overly attached to how your words are received. This detachment allows you to remain centered and focused on your intention rather than being swayed by external reactions. Balancing honesty with tact is a skill that right speech cultivates. When sharing your reasons for ending the relationship, avoid blaming or accusing the other person. Instead, focus on expressing your feelings and experiences in a way that reflects your personal truth. For example, saying, "I feel that this relationship is no longer healthy for me," is more constructive than "you always make things difficult." This approach shifts the focus from criticism to self-awareness, encouraging a more constructive conversation. Another vital aspect of right speech is refraining from gossip or speaking negatively about the other person to others. Ending a relationship can stir emotions that tempt you to vent or seek validation from mutual friends or family. However, speaking ill of the other person only perpetuates negativity and harms your integrity. Right speech reminds you to honor the dignity of the relationship, even as it ends, by choosing words that reflect respect and restraint. Self-awareness is essential in practicing right speech. Before initiating the conversation, take time to reflect on your intentions and emotions. Are you approaching the conversation from a place of clarity and compassion, or are unresolved feelings influencing your words? This self-reflection helps you align your communication with the principles of right speech, ensuring that your words reflect your highest intentions rather than reactive emotions. Boundaries are an integral part of ending relationships mindfully. Right speech provides a framework for articulating these boundaries with clarity and respect. Clearly stating what you need and what is no longer acceptable creates a foundation for closure and protects your well-being. At the same time, right speech encourages you to express these boundaries without hostility, fostering a sense of mutual respect even as the relationship ends. Practicing gratitude during the conversation can also support mindful communication. While the relationship may have caused pain, it likely held moments of connection, growth, or learning as well. Acknowledging these positive aspects does not diminish the reasons for ending the relationship. It simply adds balance to the conversation. Expressing gratitude for the shared experiences can help both parties part ways with a sense of closure and respect. The practice of right speech also involves letting go of the need to win the conversation. Ending a relationship is not about proving who is right or wrong. It is about honoring your truth and creating a path forward. This mindset helps you approach the conversation with humility and openness, reducing the likelihood of defensiveness or escalation. By focusing on resolution rather than conflict, you create a space for mutual understanding. Forgiveness, both for yourself and the other person, is another element of right speech. Holding on to resentment or blame can color your words with bitterness, making it difficult to communicate effectively. Practicing forgiveness allows you to release these emotions, ensuring that your words come from a place of peace rather than pain. This forgiveness is not about condoning harmful behavior. It is about freeing yourself from the emotional weight of the past. Right speech also encourages you to be mindful of your tone and body language during the conversation. Non-verbal cues often carry as much weight as the words themselves. Approaching the conversation with a calm and open demeanor reinforces your intention to communicate mindfully. Avoiding harsh tones or closed-off body language helps to create a more receptive and respectful environment. Practicing right speech during the end of a relationship is an act of self-respect. It reflects your commitment to living in alignment with your values, even in difficult moments. By choosing words that are truthful, kind, and necessary, you honor both yourself and the other person, creating a foundation for closure and healing. This mindful communication ensures that the end of the relationship is not defined by conflict or regret, but by the integrity and intention with which you approached it. As mindful words help to bring closure and clarity, they also open the door to something equally profound: solitude. In the quiet moments that follow the end of a relationship, solitude often feels unfamiliar or even intimidating, yet it holds transformative power. It is not a void, but a sanctuary, a space to reconnect with the parts of yourself that may have been overshadowed or neglected. Solitude offers the opportunity to see clearly, to strip away distractions, and to rediscover the person you are when no one else's needs or expectations take precedence. Embracing this time with intention can be one of the most healing and empowering steps in your journey. Solitude invites a reconnection with your inner world, something that often gets lost in the complexities of relationships. When you are constantly surrounded by others, your thoughts and emotions can be shaped by their influence, leaving little room for your authentic self to emerge. Solitude creates a space for introspection, allowing you to tune into your own needs, values, and desires. This reconnection is not about isolating yourself, but about finding clarity within, away from the noise of external voices. In solitude, emotional clarity begins to unfold. After the intensity of a toxic relationship, your emotions can feel tangled and overwhelming. Being alone allows you to sit with these feelings without judgment or distraction, giving them the space to settle. This process is not always easy. Pain, anger, and sadness may surface, but it is essential for understanding what you have experienced and what you need to heal. Solitude becomes a mirror, reflecting your inner truth and guiding you toward emotional balance. The stillness of solitude also reveals the patterns and habits that may have shaped your relationships. In the quiet, you can reflect on past dynamics, not to dwell on them, but to learn from them. Were there moments when you silenced your voice, ignored your intuition, or prioritized someone else's happiness over your own? These insights are gifts, illuminating the areas where growth is needed and empowering you to make different choices moving forward. Solitude fosters self-reliance, a quality that can feel foreign after a period of emotional dependence or codependency. When you sit with yourself, you learn to trust your own judgment and intuition. You begin to see that your worth is not tied to someone else's approval or validation, but rooted in your inherent being. This self-reliance strengthens your ability to navigate life's challenges with confidence, knowing that you are capable of supporting yourself emotionally and mentally. In the space that solitude provides, creativity often flourishes. The quiet allows your mind to wander, explore, and imagine without interruption. This creative energy can be channeled into hobbies, projects, or practices that bring you joy and fulfillment. Engaging in creative pursuits not only nurtures your spirit, but also reinforces your sense of individuality, reminding you of the richness of life beyond relationships. Solitude is also a time for self-care, a chance to prioritize your well-being without compromise. In relationships, especially toxic ones, your needs often take a back seat. Solitude offers the opportunity to reconnect with what nourishes you, whether it's through physical care like exercise and rest, emotional care like journaling and therapy, or spiritual care like meditation and nature walks. These acts of self-care affirm your worth and create a foundation for future growth. One of the most profound aspects of solitude is its ability to shift your relationship with loneliness. Being alone does not have to mean feeling lonely. Solitude teaches you to find comfort in your own company. This shift requires a change in perspective, moving from seeing solitude as a lack to embracing it as a presence of peace, possibility, and self-discovery. As you grow more comfortable with solitude, you realize that being alone can be a source of strength rather than a sign of weakness. Solitude also cultivates mindfulness, encouraging you to be fully present with yourself. In the absence of external distractions, you can pay attention to the subtleties of your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings. This mindfulness deepens your awareness of who you are and what truly matters to you. It helps you break free from the autopilot of daily life, replacing it with intentional living and authentic choices. The quiet of solitude allows you to rediscover your passions and interests, many of which may have been overshadowed in the demands of a relationship. What activities make you lose track of time? What dreams have you set aside? Solitude gives you the space to explore these questions and reignite the spark of curiosity and joy within you. This exploration is not just about finding new hobbies. It's about reconnecting with the essence of who you are. Solitude also provides an opportunity to recalibrate your boundaries. Reflecting on past experiences helps you identify where your boundaries were crossed or neglected, and solitude gives you the clarity to redefine them. This process strengthens your ability to protect your emotional and mental well-being in future relationships, ensuring that you enter them from a place of strength and self-respect. Spiritual growth often finds fertile ground in solitude. In Buddhist practice, solitude is seen as a time to deepen your connection with the present moment and cultivate inner peace. Whether through meditation, prayer, or quiet reflection, solitude allows you to explore the deeper dimensions of your existence. This spiritual connection becomes a source of resilience and guidance, helping you navigate life's uncertainties with grace. Solitude also helps you develop gratitude, not just for the quiet moments, but for the lessons learned from the past. In the stillness, you can reflect on the growth that emerged from your experiences, even the painful ones. Gratitude shifts your focus from what was lost to what was gained, fostering a sense of contentment and hope for the future. In solitude, you also learn to release the need for external validation. When you spend time alone, you come to realize that your worth is not defined by how others perceive you. This self-awareness empowers you to make decisions that align with your values and desires, rather than seeking approval from others. It reinforces the understanding that your happiness is within your control, independent of external circumstances. Solitude can be a time of profound healing, allowing you to process and release the emotional residue of a toxic relationship. The quiet creates a safe space for you to face your pain, acknowledge your strength, and embrace your journey. Healing is not linear, but solitude provides the consistency and stability needed to move forward, one step at a time. Ultimately, solitude is not an end in itself, but a means to rediscover your wholeness. It reminds you that you are complete as you are, with or without a relationship. This sense of wholeness becomes the foundation for healthier connections in the future, as it allows you to engage with others from a place of abundance rather than need. Solitude is not just a pause between relationships. It is a powerful practice of self-reconnection, healing, and growth. By embracing it with openness and intention, you create a space for clarity, creativity, and resilience to flourish. In solitude, you find the strength to let go of the past and the courage to step into a future that reflects your true self. Solitude opens a door to rediscovering yourself, but the thought of walking through that door can be daunting for many. The fear of being alone often looms large, casting a shadow over decisions to leave harmful relationships. This fear can feel paralyzing, tethering you to situations that no longer serve you, simply because the unknown feels too overwhelming. Buddhist teachings provide a compassionate guide through this fear, illuminating a path to understanding, acceptance, and ultimately, freedom. The fear of being alone often stems from the stories we tell ourselves about loneliness. It's easy to associate solitude with emptiness or lack, but Buddhist philosophy challenges this perception, encouraging a shift in how we view aloneness. Loneliness, in its painful form, arises from attachment, clinging to the idea that happiness depends on someone else's presence. Buddhist teachings remind us that true contentment comes from within, independent of external circumstances or relationships. One of the key Buddhist concepts in addressing the fear of being alone is the idea of impermanence. Everything in life, including loneliness, is temporary. This understanding helps to lessen the grip of fear, as it assures us that feelings of isolation are not permanent states, but passing experiences. By embracing this truth, you can approach the fear of being alone with curiosity rather than resistance, knowing that it is part of the ebb and flow of life. Mindfulness is a powerful tool for confronting and easing the fear of loneliness. By bringing your attention to the present moment, mindfulness helps you break free from the spiral of worry about the future or regret about the past. When fear arises, mindfulness allows you to observe it without becoming consumed by it. You can acknowledge the fear, feel it fully, and let it move through you, rather than allowing it to dictate your actions or decisions. Self-compassion is equally important in addressing this fear. Buddhist teachings emphasize treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer to a close friend. Fear of being alone often comes with harsh self-criticism or feelings of inadequacy, as if solitude reflects a personal failing. Practicing self-compassion reminds you that these fears are part of the human experience and that it's okay to feel vulnerable. This kindness toward yourself creates a sense of safety and comfort, even in moments of uncertainty. Letting go of attachment is central to overcoming the fear of being alone. Attachment to relationships, even unhealthy ones, often arises from a belief that they provide security or completeness. Buddhist philosophy encourages you to question this belief and to recognize the ways in which clinging to these attachments can cause suffering. By releasing the need for someone else to fill a perceived void, you create space for self-sufficiency and inner peace to grow. Buddhism also teaches that solitude can be a profound teacher. When you are alone, you have the opportunity to deepen your understanding of yourself, free from external influences. This self-awareness is not only empowering but also liberating, as it allows you to see that you are whole and complete in your own right. The fear of being alone often diminishes when you realize that solitude is not a punishment, but a gift, a chance to connect with your true self. Engaging in loving kindness meditation can help to counteract feelings of loneliness. By cultivating goodwill and compassion toward yourself and others, this practice fosters a sense of connection that transcends physical presence. It reminds you that you are part of a greater whole, even when you are physically alone. This sense of interconnectedness can be deeply comforting, reducing the sting of loneliness and replacing it with a feeling of belonging. The practice of gratitude is another way to shift your perspective on solitude. Fear of being alone often focuses on what is missing, creating a sense of lack. Gratitude redirects your attention to what is present and abundant in your life, whether it's your health, your skills, or the beauty of nature. This practice not only eases the fear of being alone, but also nurtures a sense of contentment and joy in the present moment. Understanding the distinction between loneliness and solitude is key to transforming your relationship with being alone. Loneliness is often a state of longing or dissatisfaction, while solitude is a state of presence and acceptance. Buddhist teachings encourage you to reframe your perspective, seeing solitude as an opportunity rather than a deficit. This shift in mindset helps to neutralize the fear of being alone, replacing it with a sense of possibility. Cultivating mindfulness in daily life can also help to alleviate the fear of loneliness. Simple practices such as mindful breathing, walking, or eating bring you back to the present moment, grounding you in the here and now. These practices remind you that each moment is complete in itself, reducing the tendency to seek fulfillment outside of yourself. This sense of completeness counteracts the fear of being alone, as it reinforces the understanding that your happiness is not dependent on external factors. Buddhist teachings also highlight the importance of embracing imperfection. Fear of being alone often stems from the belief that solitude reflects a flaw or failure. By accepting your humanity and embracing your imperfections, you can begin to release this fear and see solitude as a natural and valuable part of life. This acceptance fosters a sense of self-worth that is independent of your relationship status or external circumstances. Engaging in meaningful activities can also help to ease the fear of being alone. When you focus on pursuits that align with your values and passions, you fill your time with purpose and fulfillment. These activities not only enrich your life, but also reinforce the understanding that you are capable of creating joy and meaning on your own. This sense of agency is a powerful antidote to the fear of being alone, as it reminds you of your ability to thrive independently. Another important aspect of overcoming the fear of being alone is developing trust in yourself. Fear often arises from a lack of confidence in your ability to navigate life on your own. Buddhist teachings encourage you to cultivate self-trust through mindfulness and self-awareness. As you build this trust, you come to see that you have the strength and resources to face challenges and create a fulfilling life, even in the absence of a partner or companion. Buddhist philosophy also emphasizes the impermanence of all things, including relationships and emotions. This understanding helps to put the fear of being alone into perspective, reminding you that solitude, like all experiences, is temporary. By embracing this impermanence, you can approach the fear of being alone with a sense of curiosity and openness, knowing that it is just one chapter in your journey. Compassionate detachment is another powerful tool for addressing the fear of loneliness. This practice involves caring deeply for others while maintaining a sense of emotional independence. By cultivating this balance, you can release the fear of being alone while still fostering meaningful connections. Compassionate detachment allows you to engage with others from a place of abundance rather than need, reducing the anxiety that often accompanies the prospect of solitude. Finally, Buddhist teachings remind us that true freedom comes from within. The fear of being alone often stems from a sense of dependence on others for happiness or security. By turning inward and cultivating inner peace, you free yourself from this dependence and discover a wellspring of contentment that is not tied to external circumstances. This inner freedom is the ultimate antidote to the fear of being alone, as it empowers you to navigate life with confidence, resilience, and joy. Letting go of toxic relationships is one of the most challenging but transformative acts of self-love you can undertake. Through Buddhist teachings, we've explored how to recognize harmful patterns, cultivate non-attachment, and practice forgiveness while honoring your inner peace. We've delved into the power of solitude, the importance of mindfulness, and the wisdom that emerges when pain is transformed into growth. These practices are not about running from relationships or dismissing their value, but about reclaiming your emotional clarity, self-respect, and ability to thrive. As you continue your journey, remember that healing is not a destination, but an ongoing process. Each step, no matter how small, is progress toward a life rooted in peace, resilience, and wisdom. Whether it's setting compassionate boundaries, embracing impermanence, or rediscovering the strength within yourself, every moment is an opportunity to create the freedom and fulfillment you deserve. If this resonated with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What part of this journey spoke to you the most? Share your reflections or questions in the comments below. We're here to support and learn from each other. And if you found value in this discussion, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to join our community and stay inspired. Together, we'll continue exploring transformative insights and building lives of intention and meaning. Thank you for being part of this journey. Your growth inspires us all.